Jacob. So
this dude showing up with a freaking 10
There's
ton.
so much, and even if we had more, I don't think it.
oh my god.
Vaughn getting just does a burn.
No, that is that
Oh,
Vaughn?
no, I like this.
You also have gigantic hands.
In that car right now. We didn't fly all the ways here to watch you walk around in a sling.
Look, you must be last minute, and if you are last minute, you don't have your tickets for Long Beach, but don't worry, I'll save you $5. Use OZLB at checkout. Save yourself $5. See you in Long Beach. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Outerzone, the official podcast of Formula Drift. My name is Jacob Gettins, and this week we have Mr. Alex Jagger on. I am shocked you don't have like a standout nickname yet, because like you kind of have a unique last name, but I feel like it's close enough to a lot of different words, like Jaguar or something like that, that like something would have just come naturally already.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I've always thought that too, especially because we're pretty close, with Jared, and I've grown pretty close with Jared in my time of doing this. But he never really he made like one for a little bit. It wasn't really a nickname, but I work for Snap-on Tools is what I do for a job, and he like would say like, let's snap on into this, and he does a lot of stuff with Snap-on too. So like he'd always make like funny Snap-on innuendos, but he never gave me a real nickname. No,
that's funny enough. That's funny. I forgot you were with Snap-on. Yes, the local dealer of tools.
Yep, I do Toms River, New Jersey, Lakewood. I do a whole bunch of New Jersey. Yeah,
nice,
I've been doing it for like 10 years now.
It seems like I've done a little bit of behind the scenes stuff with Snap-on, believe it or not. I helped edit some of the like regional videos that would come out. This was years and years ago, where like, it'd be like whatever deal was going on, there'd be like a video you guys would get that like talks about the promotion and stuff like that. I helped do rough edits of those like pre-COVID. It's like 2019, maybe 2020. So I kind of understand like a little bit of the back end of like how the system works, but it's a cool job in the regards that like you have the backing of a large company, but at the end of the day, you're still kind of self-employed. Like you still have things you need to hit, but at the end of the day, like you can still kind of manage it or direct it however you need to.
Right. Yeah. I always say there's two names on the side of a Snap-on truck, but whose is bigger? Right. Yeah. Obviously Snap-ons. It's cool. It's a very unique business model. It's to some antiquated, but I think that's kind of why it works. It's almost like the Toyota mentality of how they'll make like a Toyota 4Runner is like stuck in the early 2000s and people go crazy and buy them because of that. It's like the same idea of like our business model. We stick to the original way of how we did it with the tool trucks and it being franchised and whatnot. And it's cool. Like it resonates well with our customers. Obviously the brand kind of sells itself in a way. And it is a really fun job. I do enjoy doing it. I've been doing it now for almost 10 years. I've owned my own franchises. I've been assistant. I manage a franchise for a guy that owns 4 of them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting, but I enjoy doing it this way. It's a lot less stressful than owning your own franchise, obviously, and it makes it a lot easier to be able to do things like Formula Drift and whatnot. It'd be a lot harder owning your own business and doing this. I know there's a lot of people who do Formula Drift that own businesses, but for me, it's kind of nice to have the structure that I have with my job. And my boss, fortunately, is a car nut. Like he's 33 years old. He has like a WRX, he has a Viper, he has a Mark IV Supra. Like he's like a car nut, so he thinks drifting's cool. And one of my colleagues, he's a dude that drifts at Club Loose too. His name's Mikey Walsh. He's been a Snap-on dealer for a while, so it's cool. We have a good thing going at our job.
Yeah, there's a benefit to being self-employed with the job, as long as you have somebody who can kind of run it in your absence, right? Like that's the key. Because if it's just you and you're self-employed and you're doing FD, it's tough because every day that you're gone, you're just not making money. You're losing money. But if you have somebody who can run it while you're on the road, that's kind of the ultimate. So it sounds like you found a good in-between where you can still commit to all this stuff and you're active in a lot of different things. So you've obviously been able to carve out the time without taking too much of a financial hit.
Yeah, it's fortunate for me, my boss has set a very different structure to how he runs his Snap-on franchise compared to most. Like most will just be like the sole guy running the truck around, selling tools every week. Some will bring on an assistant who will help them sell, deal with customers and stuff. In our case, we have 4 Snap-on routes that run out of our franchise. We have 4 guys to run them, myself being one of them. And then we have 2 assistants. My boss also works on a truck and his wife helps us out as well. So we have a lot of hands on deck. So fortunately for us and our customers, even, the trucks are never not showing up. You know, like if you are, like you said, your own guy and you're away at an FD event and your truck's not out making you money, 1, your customers are pretty mad at you because you're not seeing them. And 2, you're not collecting any money, which is a huge problem. So unless, like you said, you hire someone, it's difficult. So if I always said if I was to own my own route again, I would have to hire someone to be able to do the business while I'm gone. You know what I mean? Because it's just hard. It's you think it's easy, like you'll have some customers' payment saved and you just run them every week, but it's not as simple as that. You know what I mean? Like it's just not that easy. You know, these guys, you build this relationship with them and you see the same people every single week. For people who don't know that, we see the same customers every single week. It's the same route. It's very territorial. So these people, they almost take it personally if you don't show up at the same time every day. Nevertheless, not show up at all. Like I have some customers that if I'm like an hour behind schedule, they'll text me and be like, "You good, bro?" I'm like, "Yes, I'll be there. I promise." You know what I mean?
That's funny.
So,
yeah,
it is funny.
Yeah, just New Jersey traffic or whatever. Like,
yeah. It's cool for me because my route is only like 20 minutes away from Englishtown, so I have a lot of customers who come to that round. They'll come and hang out and support and whatnot. So it's pretty cool.
Well, how cool is it to have a local round? Like I kind of have it coming up with Orlando now, where like I can just go home at the end of the event or like the end of the day. I can just, it's 20 minutes down the road. So I'm very excited for that. I was thinking about it the other day, but for you as a driver, is there more pressure with something like that? Or is it kind of a relief because you're like, I know this place?
So I was so excited for FD coming to Englishtown. Originally, because Englishtown is literally, I mean, we can dive into that whole story later if you want, but Englishtown is the reason why I'm sitting here talking to you right now. And I had so much success competing there in the E-Town Gambler Series. Like for a couple of years, I was undefeated, and every gambler I did, I won all of them. And so when I came to going to do FD there, I was like, I got this. I know this track perfectly. I know everything about it. Like I'm just going to totally beat everyone. And so far, every time I've gone to New Jersey FD round, I just seem to make a fool out of myself. It's unfortunate, but yeah, on the outside, it is really cool to have a home event. Like for me, it's so exciting. Like the week before, I'm so excited even at work. I'm like, yes, I know all my friends are going to be in town. I know we're going to get dinner every night of the week at all my local spots. With everyone, because so many people come to town early, and people don't realize that. Like a lot of the pro guys will be there days in advance. So it becomes like a whole to do. We'll go and I'm very close with the owners of Englishtown, Mike and Chris. So it's just a really exciting thing. And plus, it's nice to stay in your home bed. For me, it's like, it's so much nicer than staying in a hotel. Your whole family comes out to support you too. So there's a different energy. I think to all types of racing, I think when you're at your home track, I think it kind of gives you a reason to try a lot harder, because you got your home crowd there.
It's just whether or not the pressure's there. Because I've asked like Derek Madison about it with St. Louis, and it's like he's like, yeah, it's great, everybody's here, but like everybody's here. Like I have to, when I roll back into the pits, they're all standing there. Like they're all, waiting for the answer or whatever. So I do think there's a couple of different ways you can look at it. I don't know. For me, I have no pressure. Like I got to talk, right? It's different.
Yeah.
I'm excited that like I can barbecue and stuff like that. I could like bring a bunch of barbecue to the track or have friends come over on the Sunday and hang out at the pool or something. But yeah, to actually have to compete and do well and have everybody there, it feels different.
Yeah, it is. I would say for me, the most self-inflicted pressure was related to the fact that I had a lot of success driving that track. So I felt like there was a lot of high expectations for me to do really, really well. And I think I've gotten to like top 4 in one of the years there. I just haven't had the success that I would like to at a home track. And for me, it's kind of funny. I know it's close for a lot of my family, so it's like obviously a lot of them come out, and I feel bad if we don't make it all the way. But I have my in-laws, they come to every single drifting event I have ever done since me and my wife have even started dating. Anything I have done in a car, they have been to across the whole world, really. So I feel a lot of pressure when they travel really far to like California or Utah, and I just lose like my first battle. And I'm like, I feel so bad you guys came across the whole country to watch me, and I lost right away. So I almost feel worse then than at home, because at home I'm like, yeah, whatever, you get to drive 20 minutes home. It didn't cost you a plane ticket and a hotel and all those other stuff. So
damn, that's wild. I didn't know that they've been to all of them. I think I met them in New Jersey last year, but I didn't realize that they were at every single one. That is wild.
Yeah, it is really cool. It was one of the most insane feelings. I mean, my family was very supportive and has been supportive of my racing too, but it was just different with her family. They're so close. The whole family structure is super close. It's awesome. They do like a lot of things together, and they've always supported, like all their kids have pretty much competed in something. Like my wife, she's like a semi-professional wakeboarder. Her sister was like a superstar college lacrosse player. So like they would just like travel to all this stuff. Her brother also wakeboarded and stuff too. So it's like, I don't know, they're just into that kind of stuff. And unfortunately for them, they have the time. So, and they love to travel. So they're like, yeah, let's go. I'd love to see Utah and California. And they even came to Grid Lives. Like they've been to Alpine Horizon. They've been to Gingerman. They've been to all the Grid Lives. So.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but maybe that's your hobby, right? Like our hobby is racing and cars and stuff, but their hobby is going and supporting other people. That's like it sounds like they have the infrastructure to do it in whatever way, whether that's time or money or an RV or something. Like they know how to do it really well. They're really good at supporting their family and friends. Like that's kind of cool.
It is. It's really cool. It's very inspiring to be that same way as a parent. Because I'm newly a father now. For anyone that doesn't know that, thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's super inspiring.
I think you told me last year in New Jersey we were all out for dinner, and I kind of got the hint. I don't know if it was public knowledge at that point, but it was happening pretty. I think you were telling everybody pretty soon. So
yeah. I started like throwing out some of the people that I really wanted to know at Atlanta. Like we knew. Okay. I guess it was like this time last year is when we found out exactly. So in May at Atlanta, it was kind of like at that point where it was obviously looking pretty good. God forbid, you never know what could happen these days. It's crazy. And I feel awful for those type of people. Those people that have to deal with that. It's horrible. Yeah. But you never know. It's hard. It's scary. I mean, you're a father, it's scary because you're so excited and it's such a massive life milestone. It's so cool. And then it's like, you can't tell anyone, or you don't want to tell anyone because you feel crazy that you don't want to jinx it, or God forbid. It's such a weird mental place that I don't think anyone understands unless they're there. You know what I mean? But anyway, at Atlanta, we started telling people, and obviously in New Jersey and stuff like that. I think it's probably when we told you guys. So it's exciting. It's the coolest thing in the entire world being a father. It's as you know, life changing. And everyone says that, and I always thought it sounded so cliche. I'm like, yeah, obviously it's life changing. You gotta take care of a human, but until you really do, you're like, whoa, I get what people are saying.
Yeah, it's a very different motivation. Right. And it's a huge reality check in what's important and what you have time for and what you're willing to make time for, or what you are going to spend money on or not. Like, I do think it's a big divide too, especially when it comes to not just drifting, but like professionals in whatever field of like, there's two routes that they seem to go down. It's like they kind of double down and are like, no, now I have somebody to drive for, to compete for, or push for. And then there's the other side of it where it's like, man, I got to think a little bit more about the money I'm spending or how I'm driving, or like how the risks that I'm going to take and that kind of stuff. Like I don't know if there's anybody on the grid right now where I'm like, oh, they had a kid and their driving got worse. But I do think that there is something to not taking as many risks, because it's like, oh, like there's somebody waiting for me at home, and I need to be a little bit more careful than I normally am.
Yeah, I'd say the first time that I really felt that was Chris invited me to compete with him in the Nora 500 Baja race in Mexico, a month before my son was born. And drifting is obviously, it's dangerous. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it isn't dangerous, but in comparison to racing like Baja, to me, it's like not even close in the level of danger. Like I'm just very comfortable drifting. The speeds are lower. Our safety is so high. Like the requirements for the safety of the cars is just so high that I feel like, God forbid things can happen, but the difference of the chance of that is quite large compared to when I was in Baja. So I remember like I'm in the middle of absolute nowhere, Mexico, in our Nissan Frontier race truck, and I look at the GPS unit and it says 92 miles an hour. And I'm like, blasting through whoops and sand and stuff. And I'm like, this is the sickest thing I've done in my entire life. But that's the first time I felt that like, wow, like I need to hold back a little because at this point I didn't even get to meet my son yet. So I'm like, I need to make sure I go and meet my son. You know what I mean? So it's like the first time I really had that feeling, you're like, whoa. And to some people who compete, I think that feeling can almost be too much. And others, I think it almost, like you said, it inspires them. There's definitely a divide because I see it a lot in the dirt bike world. Like I grew up racing dirt bikes. I'm obsessed with dirt bikes. I follow it pretty closely. And a lot of people who compete at the top level of motocross and supercross all have kids very young, like in their young 20s. Like it's no stranger that most of the field of dirt bike racing is all like parents. And what's crazy is I think that is extremely dangerous of a sport. And you're always running the fine line. Like you are running that line of getting severely injured just to be the most competitive at what you do. So it's like, I can't imagine what that psyche is like if you're a father as well. You're like, wow, I got kids and I have a wife and I have all this stuff to worry about. And you need to be the best you could possibly be with a very, very high level of danger. And it seems like some it makes or breaks them. It's like some people are like, it makes them do even better. And others, it might be too much to bear and it does slow them down or whatever. I do think fortunately for us in drifting, it's not as high of a danger factor. You know what I mean? Yeah. So thankfully we don't have to have as much of a thought there, but there still is, of course, because anything could happen, especially some of these tracks with the speeds just keep getting higher and the walls like at Irwindale, God rest its soul, Irwindale.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember the first time I went to Irwindale as a prospective FD driver, not even competing, and I saw them coming off the big bank down into the inner bank, and I'm like, yo, you don't get it until you watch it live. Like just how high rate of a speed you are coming into that Outerzone 2 and how perfect you have to be and how fast that wall juts out at you. Like if you're off a little bit, that's a serious wreck. You know what I mean? Like that, you could get really hurt there. I mean, look at what happened with James Dean, and fortunately he was okay to a degree, but that was crazy. That was a pretty terrifying wreck for drifting.
Yeah, the sport as a whole, because of how close we are to other cars and to walls and things like that, there's very few occasions where you have that impact speed, right? Because like the actual distance to what you're going to hit is usually very, very small if you're doing it correctly. Now, there's always the strange accident in St. Louis with Adam, the way that James Dean and Matt Fields kind of like touched. Like it's just there's these weird incidents, this weird contact, and that's where I think we see the biggest issues. I mean, Turk obviously had a big hit. Vaughn had a massive hit in Texas. Man, was that 2017? Might even be earlier than that. Like, yeah, it happens. But it's not happening so often that like we have to really rethink things. And what I will give FD like massive applause for is like when there is an incident, when there is a problem, they're very quick at like, we are fixing this now. Like the nitrous issue in Long Beach, like there's a whole new protocol for all of it. There was a new protocol right after, and then there was, all new technical regulations that came out for the next year where it's like, nope, this is nitrous shutoff needs to be on the A-pillar. Like, sorry guys, this isn't, I get it's an inconvenience, I get it's a problem, but you need to do this. And I just think that reactivity is crucial to keep the sport going. Like,
absolutely.
That was a crazy incident. Like it melted a nitrous line, it fed the fire, but like we were lucky. We were very lucky that no one got seriously injured in that. And now it's rectified, and hopefully nothing like that ever happens again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think of, like you said, we're so lucky. It could have gone really, really wrong. Like, God forbid if that happened during like a wreck, let's say, and you're trapped in a car, or, you know, God forbid something else like that happened, like it could have been way worse. So fortunately for that scenario, and fortunately the passenger was also very fluent on getting out of a race car quickly, because anyone who has had passengers in drifting realizes how slim of a chance that is a lot of times, especially at a press day. You know, like Grid Lives, we give passengers rides all the time, and most of them have never been in a drift car in their life. Sometimes we have multiple passengers at a time, like in you know, what Forsberg has with the Ultima and with the Infinity. Like, they have 3 people in. Imagine if that happened and you have 3 people in the car that you're trying to, that don't know how to get out. You know, that stuff is kind of haunting in the sport. So it's really cool, like you said, to see Kevin and Formula Drift take it so seriously and implement changes as quickly as they can. And they've always been very good with safety. You know, obviously that's probably been one of, in my opinion, I think the best thing that I've seen in terms of our rule book is they take safety very seriously, and they always have. You know, and it's needed. It's needed for, like you said, to sustain the sport. It is needed. You know.
Yeah. A small thing a friend brought up to me recently is, like, if you have a passenger, if you're doing a ride along, make sure, like, I get that it's a pain in the ass to get them buckled in, but show them, like, I need you to unbuckle. Like, before we begin, I need you to unbuckle and open the door, and just show me that you know where these 2 things are, and just do it once. It takes an extra 30 seconds, but, like, man, that could be the difference. That could be the difference between, So I don't even want to get into it too much, but it's just, we are lucky in the way that the sport is within how it's operated and everything else. Like, you know, going back to motocross, like, how many safety regulations can you put in? You know, there's certain gear they can run. But like, at the end of the day, they're open to the environment. There's no cage on a bike. You know, a helmet, boots, chest protector. Yeah. What else can you put on them, right?
There's not a lot. I just saw at I think it was last week's or 2 weeks ago, Supercross round, they were testing a chest protector that had an airbag built into it.
I've seen those,
which is pretty crazy. It's like, I think Alpine Stars makes, I don't remember who made it, but it's like, if I don't know exactly how it is triggered or how it is, you know, because God forbid if that thing went off inadvertently when you're going to hit a huge jump or something, that'd be horrifying. But it is cool technology to see them trying, because like you said, there's just so few avenues to implement safety, especially in that sport, you know, compared to ours.
I did see that you got back on a bike recently. Congrats on a good run. Cool to see you getting back into the 2-wheeled side of things.
Yeah, it's been like, this is one thing that I've missed the most, that I didn't realize how much I missed it. I raced very heavily a lot of my life. The last full season I did was like 2014. So it was about a little over 10 years ago is when I raced like heavily. And I had dirt bikes in between then and there. But I really dove both feet into the car world. A lot of it was just because it was something that I felt came more natural in a way to me, at least at the level I wanted it to be. And 2, like a lot of my good friends got really, really injured my last season of racing. And I think it kind of shook me up, especially at that age. I was like, whoa, like I don't want to have this be a life altering type thing. Mm-hmm. So it kind of messed with me for a bit. But like you said, recently a year ago, I got a newer bike, and I managed to squeeze one race in 2024, which I did pretty good. I got 3rd in my class and 8th overall out of my event, out of everyone that lined up, which felt pretty good for being very out of shape and rusty to the sport. But yeah, it's cool. I want to hit more races this year. I want to try to, like, my goal right now is to hit like 5, and I know my wife will laugh at me when she hears that. But I have been heavily working out because I rode with some of my friends who are like pros now on dirt bikes just right before, the week before my son was born, and I didn't have it like they did, and it really, really messed with my head. So I run like at least 2 miles a day now. I do a lot of like running and cardio style workouts because I want to get better on the bike, and it just puts you in a better headspace in life, I think, anyway, for anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Taking that kind of stuff seriously. It's very, no matter what, it's healthy physically, it's healthy mentally, you know, so we'll see.
I would love to get into running. I just can't bring myself to do it. I don't know why. I've tried a handful of times. I've had a few people like, oh, you just got to do this, you got to do that. I am back at the gym now, which has been huge. Like that's the mental clarity of it is, I can't believe how different my head is coming out of it, or just everything seems to line up a little bit quicker, or I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just in my head, but I'll take it. If it helps me mentally, then I'll do it. I don't care. But yeah, I'm sure riding with pros again was pretty humbling and yeah. I can see them. I'm glad you were motivated by it, not stuck behind because of it. Because there's a lot of same thing. There's a lot of people that just would be like, "Oh, I'm out of the game. Like that's it. It's over." Whereas you're like, "Oh shit, I know how to get back there, and this is how I'm going to do it."
Yeah, it's funny because it's very eye opening, but it's so different now because that sport is so disciplined in so many ways. Like so, I grew up racing primarily in the woods. So I did what was GNCC, hare scrambles, national enduro style things. I did some motocross for cross training and stuff like that for fun. But what I did was more endurance racing. So we'd race 2 to 3 hours at a clip. And it's different when you're a kid. You kind of just like go wide open and don't really care about anything else. You know what I mean? You're just trying your hardest. Whereas now getting back into it at a later age, it's like, I wish I had my brain that I have now when I ride the bike, but like the physical ability that I had when I was younger, you know, because it's like, I'm so much more disciplined, like, or I guess the word would be mature. I know that's kind of cliche, but it's like, I feel when I ride now with my friends, my brain is like, wow, if I could harness the physical side of this, I would be so much better than I was when I was younger. It's just, I don't know if I'll ever get back to that. You know what I mean? I've aged quite a bit. I'm in my early 30s, I guess now. And that's usually the end of the road for most people who take dirt bike racing to a pro level. You know, most pros don't continue on into their 30s. Most end late 20s, early 30s. So anyway, yeah, it was pretty eye opening for sure, but very motivating. And it was almost easier when I went to that race I signed up for. I had zero expectations. Like it reminded me of my first drift event almost again, where I just showed up and was like, I don't have any. I could be awful at this or amazing at this, and it doesn't matter. There was no pressure at all. Which is so contrary to what I'm used to with doing FD now for going on 5 seasons. So when I got on the bike, I just rode. I didn't even think anything of it. I just got into a good flow. It was an enduro, a sprint enduro, what it's called. It was like a 70-mile race with different. Okay. It's kind of like a rally, set up the same way as rally. You race. They call them tests, but it's just like a stage. So you race multiple tests, and then they take the shortest combined time, and that's how they figure out where you place. And there was some people on my line that were, you start in rows of like 5 riders at a time that were really good. And I was like pacing with them and stuff. And I'm like, all right, we're doing good, but I just didn't know where I'd end up. And then I actually left the event before I got my like trophy or anything. I just was driving home and one of my friends was like, oh, you got 3rd place. You got like 8th overall at everyone. I'm like, I wish I stayed. I wish I knew that. You know what I mean? So my friend
it would have been good to know
back.
Before I packed up.
Exactly. I was already heading back to so we call it the lake, but where my wife's family has a lake house. So we're already heading back to go on the boat. And I'm like, oh, wow, wish I stayed for my trophy and celebration. But yeah, I think that's why I did good because I didn't have any expectations or anything, you know?
Maybe it's just how you need to start driving. It's just no expectations. Just go out and have fun, party, and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say the one thing, and this is meant to be like a total joke, not taken too seriously. But I always say the one thing I wish I knew before everything I know about Formula Drift was that I wish I knew I needed to party a lot harder to get to where I am now. Because once I like started becoming so close with everyone, and it's a good kind of partying. I'll put it out that way. Yeah. It's a good kind of partying. But like I learned quickly just hanging out with everyone, especially being kind of force fed it with everything with being with Chris and Forsberg Racing. It's like I was lucky that I got to meet so many of the people I looked up to at a really rapid pace. And I was like, wow, you guys are all awesome. And you all love to party and hang out. It's like, it's so crazy. To me, I was like, man, I wish I knew that. And I would have partied a lot harder before becoming a pro. I would have been ready for it.
Yeah. I think the social interaction and the man, I'm trying to find the best way to frame this without it sounding shitty. Getting to know as many people within the sport, becoming friends with them, you know, going out to social situations, just getting close without being weird about it. You know, like don't just like lurk around a circle, but if you're invited, say yes. Like say yes to go do these things, you know, Baja or Grid Life or whatever. Because what you're going to learn both driving and business and partnership and car setup and just everything there is to know about the sport happens in those interactions. It happens in the I would say I've learned more about drivers in the sport Saturday night when the event is over and everybody is packing up. I get more notes in those conversations. I learn more about what's going on with somebody's program, the team dynamics, the drama, the whatever. That's when it happens. Oh, dude, the amount of tea that gets poured Saturday night at pack up is crazy. But I've learned more that way and with those things and at Grid Life and at all these different events than anywhere else, because that's when people have the time. That's when people can give you the time and they're a little bit more candid to talk about different things. And in my role now, I'm always quite clear, like, hey, are you cool if I talk about this? Or like, could I bring this up later? And sometimes I can't, and sometimes I can. But that social element is a lot of what I think drivers are missing, where they're like, oh, I don't understand. How come I didn't get this thing? Or I didn't get this partnership? Or I didn't get this license or whatever. It's like, man, who have you been hanging out with? Who have you been talking to? Where are you? Are you at these events? Are you known? Like, I know that sounds really shitty.
No, you're 100% right.
It's super easy to say no to a stranger. It's really hard to say no to a friend. So,
it's a really, really, I've never really thought of it that way. That's a really good way to put that. You know what I mean? It's I always say, like anyone, it's almost not what you know, it's who you know in so many ways.
I didn't want to say that one, but yeah.
It's so cliche, but like I am the walking definition of that. Like I would not be at all where I am doing what I'm doing, talking to you. I mean, I still probably would maybe be in FD, but not to the same caliber if it wasn't for all the relationships that I made up until getting into what I have, like what I do now. I'm just a product of meeting people, and that's what it was. I just became friends with so many people and stuff like that, and that's essentially. I mean, we could dive into that if you want, the real story, but it's all was just people of that I knew, people that I met along the way and made relationships with. That fortunately, when the time came, I almost don't know why, but I'm so thankful they did. They really wanted to help me out and get to me where I am now.
You're a nice guy. I mean, you're a genuine, cool dude to hang out with. You're humble and friendly, and it's easy to want to help people like that. And it's very difficult. You can forge your path on your own, but it's going to be much harder. And there are drivers that have done it where they're like, fuck everybody else. I'm going to do it my way. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. That's super cool. I love to see it. You're going to do something different. It's going to be way harder for you though. But if you can do it, the person that comes out of that is going to be crazy. Like it's noble and admirable. But yeah, I mean, I've told drivers this in a lot of different ways. It's like, get out there, meet people. Like if you're the most toxic thought you can have is, I'm not going to go to an event I'm not driving at. And it's like, that is so like, get out of that mindset. Go to an event. If you're not driving, awesome. Because now you get to meet everyone and you get to do it on your own time and you're not worried about other stuff. You can meet all the people, like all the sponsors, all the companies, all the different drivers, the different crew chiefs. Go meet people. Go have fun. Make friends. Because those are the people you're going to need later on. Yeah. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely. It resonates with me. Like at a really young age, I was always obsessed with rally racing. And I knew some people that did rally. And so I reached out to them. I'm like, what's the best way? The number one question, what's the best way to get into this? Right. And they all said, go and volunteer at a rally to work it. And I'm like, I don't want to work a rally. Like I want to go and drive it. I want to go and or whatever, anything else other than just volunteer. But it was so true. Like going and volunteering at which I did. I went and volunteered at, it was Rally New York at the time. And, you got a different level of respect, one from the drivers, because they see that you took their sport seriously and you're willing to volunteer your time to help put their event on. And you got like a front row seat just to learn so much. And it's the same thing even in our sport, right? Like, let's say what I did, I worked on a Pro 2 team. His name is AJ Muss, which later working with Dean Carney, and stuff like that. Right. So, for me, like I just built relationships. And I say that to so many people, like especially people that when we could just call it how it is. So many people that don't come from a lot of money, because there are people who have a lot of money. There's no secret to it, that just kind of buy their way in. It's different. People like myself who didn't, the best way I have for advice is to go and try to work on a team, especially if you're into mechanic side of things, but work a team, help out. You will be force fed so much knowledge about car setup, the do's and don'ts of the sport, all the trials and tribulations everyone has. You'll get like a crash course on how to do this, and sometimes you'll be getting paid to do it, which is even cooler. If you're into that sort of thing, like you want to work as a mechanic, there's so many different things you could do though.
Yeah,
and you never know who you're going to meet.
You could keep the pits clean and go get food. Like if you're not mechanically inclined, that is such a crucial role that no one else wants to do. That if you're the person getting food and like cleaning everything up, oh my God, you're everybody's best friend.
You are priceless to me. If you can do, because that's clearly something that I and my guys, there's like two things that I would say. I would literally hire someone just to do this job, because my crew guys, no matter how many times I tell them to do it, they don't do it. Clean the rubber out from under my car, please. I don't know how many times I have to. My crew guys, they laugh at me, right? They're like over at the snack stand instead. After they do all their work, the car's done. It's still got a mountain of rubber under it. I'm like, can you please just clean the rubber out from under my car? It's like anyone. If anyone wants to come do it, find me. I will pay you to clean the rubber out of my car and just make it stay clean. It's so funny, like little tasks like that. You know what I mean? Or like you said, getting food, whatever. It's helpful, and you get to build the relationships with people. It goes a long way.
I agree. So how much rubber did you have to clean out from other people's cars to, work on Forsberg Racing? Like, I'm assuming that's where we're going with this.
It's funny, actually. Like, I enjoy cleaning rubber out from under the car. It's just not like a task that a lot of times I have time to do. But like, even at like Grid Lives or like any other type of event that I might be at, like, and I'm there by myself, like I'll sit there and I'll just clean the car out all by myself. I don't know why I enjoy doing it. I have definitely done quite a bit of cleaning rubber out of cars and pits, though. You know what I mean? To kind of get to where I am. Fortunate, it wasn't the only reason I was there, but I was the only one that kind of was just like, yeah, I'll do it. I don't mind it, because it's one of those tasks too. If you're like new to a team and you're kind of like, I don't want to say I'm a shy person, but some people can be kind of shy. It's like an easy task to just dive into that everyone's going to leave you alone while you do it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You can just clean the car out. You're doing something that everyone loves you for doing, and you don't get bothered while you're doing it. You can't do it wrong. Everyone has an opinion on like how things, like there's always like the joke, there's a guy, he works with Mike Power. His name's Scott Davidson, but he worked on Forsberg team for a while. And like, he would always yell at us to not make things rally car tight. Was like one of his sayings, because in drifting we changed parts so quickly, but he would always yell at us because he knew I was a rally person, and like Dylan, who worked on Chris's team and was close with Dylan, with Chris for a while, Dylan Hughes, like rally car people are different. They just tighten everything as tight as they can because it has to withstand blasting down a stage. It's different than drifting. But that was like a common funny one to always yell at us to not make things rally car tight. They always stuck with me. Funny. I'd yell at my crew guys too. Like one of my guys, Ryan, he's my co-driver for rallying when I have done rallies, and I'd have to yell at him too not to make things rally car tight.
500 Douglas, just
just enough.
It's not going to vibrate out. Yeah, we can nut and bolt this right after. Don't worry.
Exactly.
It's fine.
This has got to make it like 45 seconds of driving, maybe a minute tops, and then we could check it again after that. 2 runs. That's all we got to do.
That's funny. So I guess leading into that though, like where and when was the jump to where you're at now, as much as you can disclose? Obviously you run Dean's team for a little bit. Was it a conversation that happened while you were going for your license, or was it something once you already were licensed, you're like, hey, I got this thing, so what can we do here? Yeah.
So I'll try to make this as short as possible, because it's going to sound like a really run-on story. Yeah, it's a long story. But to me, I think it's like I like telling it. It's kind of a bittersweet one. It's very true. There's no, like, it's not like any pomp and circumstance to try to make it sound like a humbling story. It is as humbling as it sounds. Basically, I started competing in drifting at the same time that I decided to start competing in rally, which was a really, really poor decision for someone who didn't make a lot of money. Like I had an S13 with the 1J that was slammed together. It was by no means a good car, but it was what I could build at the age of like 20 years old, or 20, whatever. It was 2014, so I'm 32 now, so 21 years old. I did US Drift at Wall Stadium, which was really cool. I did like a whole bunch of US Drift events, but I never really did that great. I'd qualify well, but I was in a stock like 300 horsepower car, which back then was okay, but still nothing. And I just didn't dive all into drifting because I was also trying to do a rally program at the same time. Ironically, also with a 240 SX, not a 1JZ powered one, an SR powered one. I still have the car today. I will never get rid of it.
That's cool.
It's like my first priority now. When I have this new shop, I'm buying a house soon. Anyway, it's got a big garage. It's my first priority to get that thing back going again. Anyway, flash forward to like 2017, 18-ish, I really decided to take drifting pretty seriously. I built a whole new car. I was making better money then. I built an S13 coupe with a 1J, made like 500 horsepower. It was a proper like rear mount radiator, nice car. And I went and did, at that time, shootouts were a big thing with US Drift and other organizations. So I went, signed up for shootouts, had some pretty good battles, but never had good enough luck to win a license. I got like best with like Midwest Drift Union shootout. I think in like 2018, I got like 4th place, just outside of winning a license, which was top 3. I was a little annoyed and discouraged with how much time and money I spent into it, but I really wanted to do FD. So I have a good friend that I grew up drifting with. His name is AJ Muss. He's from New Jersey. He's competed in the Olympics. He races Ferraris now. He does all this cool stuff, but he won his Pro 2 license, and he was like, we were really close. We started drifting this like same event in 2014 at Club Loose together. So we always stayed close. And he's like, I want you to be on my team and help me out. He had MA Motorsports build him his drift car. It was an E46. And also Brian Wilkerson, the owner of MA Motorsports, he decided to agree to work on the team as well. So I went to the rounds with AJ and Brian, and I just learned a lot about the sport. I learned about FD, I learned about car setup. Brian is like literally the nicest human being in the world. So he, instead of like belittling me for things I didn't know, he took the time to actually educate me, and he became a good friend. And I was very thankful for AJ for giving me this opportunity. AJ was also very close with Dean Carney. We would pit a lot of the times in the same pit space. So I became close with Dean, and Dean would bring me out to other Pro 1 rounds, and I would help him out there, and kind of just got my foot in the door with FD that way. Scott Davidson was also our crew chief and spotter for AJ's team and later Dean Carney's team. And Scott, who worked with Forsberg too, like, and everyone in the sport to some degree, he almost changed drifting in some facets. I think. I learned so much from Scott. He's also from New Jersey. So it really worked out well that like Scott was from New Jersey, Brian was from Maryland, AJ was from here. And I just kind of built a good like web of people to become friends with who were really respected in the sport. Now, this is where my story takes a slight detour. In 2020, I guess, when COVID first happened, I should say, I was like pretty annoyed with trying to like do FD. I was like a little discouraged. It's actually funny enough when I met my wife, and I was hanging out a lot on her wakeboard boat, doing all this like lake stuff and whatever. No one was really drifting because of COVID, and I was just like, whatever. Maybe I won't really pursue an FD license anymore. Maybe I'll just give up on this dream, and it is what it is. So she was pretty mad because she never got to see me compete. Like I would see her do her wakeboarding. We went to wakeboard competitions and stuff like that. But she's like, I never got to see you do what you love so much. So she forced me to fix my car and go and do an event. It was funny enough, it's a true story. It was an E-Town Gambler event. It was the first year they started doing gamblers. So I show up to the Gambler. There was like 40 people that show up. It was like Pro 1 drivers. There was all these different types of people that I really respected. And, I went out and I won the event. Like first time ever winning a drifting event. And I was like, and she spotted for me, funny enough. She has never been to a drift event in her life. And she went up there. She's like, I'll spot for you. I'm like, all right, whatever. Just, here's a too long, didn't read, example of spotting. And we went out. She was texting me. Like we didn't even have radio. She was just texting me, information. So I went out, won the event. And I was like, wow, that was that was pretty cool. That felt really nice, you know? So we went and we did a US Drift shootout. Right after that, I got third place there, which won me my pro license. It's some pretty cool battles. It was a lot of fun. Nate Chen was there. He won that event. He got his pro 1 or pro 2 at the time license, the same event as I, and a few other drivers too. But because I think they did like top 5 for licenses that year because it was a weird COVID year. So anyway, at that point, I knew I had my license, and I was like, well, now I'm at a crossroads. I thought I was like done drifting. Now maybe I'll pursue, Formula Drift. So this is another detour to my story. When I was younger, in like 2014, I worked at a shop called Broken Motorsports for a guy named Billy Petro. Billy Petro was close friends with a man named Brandon Bowling. I don't know if you know Brandon or not, but Brandon, he used to store his cars at the shop that I worked at. He was like an OG Drift Master, or OG Drift Alliance guy from Club Loose. Like he was super close with Forsberg and Angelo and everyone from and Vaughn and everyone from day one. He would always go drifting at Club Loose. So I became friends with Brandon. I was like pretty close with Brandon. He super smart marketing guy, worked for Facebook when it started, did all this crazy stuff with Apple. And he's just one of the smartest guys I've ever met when it comes to that side of the world. And I knew he was close with people like Forsberg and in the sport. So he was really my only other in outside of like asking Dean Carney what I should do for pro, or AJ or someone, which would have been a good advice too. I wish I asked Dean that because I would love to have his actual opinion on what to do because he's just one of the funniest dudes you'll ever meet in your entire life.
Oh, he's wild.
He's a riot and a half. So anyway, I hit up Brandon and I was like, Brandon, I know you know a lot of people in this sport. I really want to pursue doing Formula Drift. I would love to pick your brain on stuff like this. This is in 2020 after all my license. So he was like, let's hop on a call. It's crazy that I'm saying this, but I now manage Chris Forsberg's team. And I was like, what? I'm like, I didn't know. He was like, I didn't know that you were in drifting this heavily again now. So right after that was another gambler that Chris came out to, which I didn't know. He was coming out to do like some stuff at Englishtown with some people with his team and whatnot. But Chris was there at this event and I won it. It was awesome. I won, got first place. I go home, I celebrate with all my friends and party. I wake up on Sunday morning. My rig is still loaded in front of my parents' house at the time in the street. And all I had was a 350Z that I literally stole wheels off of to go drifting. And I get a text message from Brandon. He's like, get to the track right now. And I'm like, well, hungover, like celebrating, partying. I'm like, oh crap. So I rip wheels out of the trailer. I slap them on my daily driver 350Z and I hightail it to Englishtown, where Chris was there. They were driving, doing some fun stuff. I got to hang out with like Chris Knapp and I drove some of his cars and we just kind of like had a chill day. So at the end of the day, Chris, him and I like sat down with Brandon and he was like, what do you want to do? And at the time I was like, I want to build an S15, like every other kid that wants to get into like Formula Drift or obsessed with Nissans. I'm like, I want to build an S15. So he was like, I would buy a Z. It's basically all he said. He wasn't like insinuating at that point that he was going to help me out a lot, but he was like, I would buy a Z, like a 370Z preferably. And I'm like, okay. So I start looking around for 370Zs. So he was like, I'll help you out with setup. I'll help you out with knowledge. And I'm like, well, if Chris Forsberg's willing to help me out with anything, I'm taking that advice. He's
of course
arguably one of the most successful American drifters of all time. So I'm like, why not? Of course I'm going to take his advice. So I reached out to Brian Wilkerson because I knew he had a 370Z shell for sale. So it's funny like to say that. And I text Brian. He's like, I sold it. I don't have it anymore. Sorry. And I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Like I'm trying to like figure out how to build a car in a couple months. And that was a mostly built chassis. So I knew that Jeff Stoneback used to drive a 370Z and I was pretty close with him from Club Loose and other stuff like that. So I text Jeff Stoneback and I'm like, hey, I know you used to drive a 370. I value your opinion. Can I pick your brain on it? I was like, I'm thinking about getting one. And he was like, it's funny that you say that. I have a 370Z that I'm willing to sell. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, it was the one that Brian Wilkerson had. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. I was like, I'll send you the money now. How much do you want for it? So I literally took the $8,000 that I won from winning 2 gamblers, and I bought my 370Z with the winnings from that. $8,000 is how much I paid for the car. And then it turned into this big snowball effect of like, which way I'm going to go with it? Am I going to put an LS in it? Am I going to put a JZ? Am I going to run a Nissan thing? And at that point, I had more and more talks with Brandon, and Brandon was like, no, do a Nissan, VR platform with originally we were going to explore a VR30.
Okay.
But we later went on to the VR38 just because it was the easiest, because there was so much data already from Chris running that motor. And at that time, the VR30 was so new because the new Z didn't even exist then. And it was only in the Infinity platform. So anyway, flash forward to January 1st, or whatever, first, second, or third, first 3 days of the year. I don't remember exactly. I was loading my trailer to go do a Haggerty shoot for this show. It was called Rad Ventures that my friend and crew member Ryan put on. And I get a phone call, from Chris and Brandon. And they're like, you available to talk? I'm like, yes, I'm sitting in my truck. I just loaded the trailer. And he's like, all right, here's the deal. Like, we're going to do like a full-fledged, like, you're a Forsberg Racing driver, like the whole nine, all the backing, all this kind of stuff. We'll manage all your partners, X, Y, and Z, like laid it out in front of me that they were going to manage my whole program and just give me basically like a full ride to every extent that they could. They were going to try to get all of their partners on board with bringing a second car. They were going to manage all those relationships, as long as I could provide enough funding out of things that we couldn't get funded or get for free, basically, from partnerships. As long as I could do that, then it'll be like a full deal Forsberg Racing ride. And I was like, I sat in my truck and I cried. Like, I literally just like bawled my eyes out. I sat there like what did I do? What poop did I step into to deserve this? I was like, how did I get this deal? Like, I'm just some kid from New Jersey. I had some luck and some winnings and stuff like that. And I met like we said earlier, I made the right connections along the way. Like, if I didn't meet all of these people and make all these connections along the way, I would have never been given that opportunity. Like, one decision different would have led me down a path of this probably not happening, which is crazy. It's absolutely mental to think of. So yeah, then it became the whole thing. Like, a lot of it at the time, everyone thinks it was Chris's old car, which it wasn't. Like, I should just said it was a new build, but a lot of the parts were parts that have been on his cars, like fenders and doors and stuff like that we just had laying around. And we slapped it together. We got out there and made it to our first round at Orlando. And it was just like the craziest thing ever to be sitting there. My first FD event, I'm in the pit with Chris. I got this energy drink backing, with NOS and Nissan Motorsports backing and all these people. And it was the craziest thing ever. Like, those moments of my life are so vivid, and I don't think we'll ever lose their value. It was just like the coolest thing ever. Because I like I said to you just before, like I really thought that I might not do it at all. And I went from not trying FD to like one of the best deals I think almost anyone has had, especially in ProSpec. So it was just so cool. And I've been so fortunate. Like, I've done so many cool things that he's given me so many opportunities. That truthfully speaking, you didn't have to do. Like, a lot of people don't know. Like, everyone always asks me that too, especially like my customers, because I have a lot of customers that love drifting and they are fans of Chris, and they're like, what is Chris like? And I'm like, you see his, like, he's so good at being media trained. You know what I mean? So you see his media trained thing, and he is a genuine person. I'm not trying to say that his media training doesn't make him genuine, but when you're with him, he really is a really great guy. Like, he's super nice, and look at what he gave me. He didn't have to give me the opportunities that I have. And even outside of FD, like, I got to do a full grid life tour, running a second car for him, giving ride-alongs to our partners. I've gotten to do Nora, the Baja race with him. We've gotten to do a lot of things outside of the FD original stuff we agreed on that he didn't have to do. I'm super, like, I'm close enough now. Like, he came to my wedding. I got invited to his wedding. I wish that we could have gone, but it was unfortunately 3 days after my son was born. So we couldn't
little tough,
go.
yeah, a little tough.
But it's just stuff like that. So
Damn.
it was a really, it is a fun story to tell, because it brings me back through those memories of that. It was just such a crazy year of my life of going, like, I didn't really know too, like, there's so many things I didn't know at that point. I was I sold my Snap-on franchise at the same time as all this happened, and I didn't know if I was ever going to get back into Snap-on. So I was like changing jobs while trying to start an FD career while doing all this stuff, and it was wild. But I'm just so happy that it played out the way that it is, and I'm honestly really happy that my wife nagged me to even go to those drift events in the first place. You know?
Yeah. It's always wild when you look back and you're like, oh, you can pinpoint like a decision or a moment where you're like, this is it. This was the thing. You know, a lot of stuff leads up to it, but it's that like definitive moment of, if I didn't do this thing, everything would have been different. If she wouldn't have, you know, nagged you to go do it and you wouldn't have said yes, like, that's it. This wouldn't be happening now. This conversation wouldn't be happening now. And like, there's always I find with stuff like this, it's almost like an hourglass where it's like all these different things happen, but it always comes down to like this one decision, and then everything else just comes flying out from the other side. So it's cool that was the kind of the catalyst for all of it.
Yeah, and to think of the variables in what we do alone, like
dude,
one thing in one of my runs of one of those battles could have broke on my car, and I could have got knocked out early and not won a pro license, or not won a gambler where Chris was there, where he must have liked what he saw with the driving, obviously. Because let's say if I didn't win that event, and one little nuanced thing, or even think of our sport too, which is the most controversial thing of it being is it's judged. Even if just a judgment call was made slightly different upon me, it could have changed the whole trajectory of this, you know? So it almost, those things, just like, it's almost hard not to believe that things are actually meant to be or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's what's funny is, and this will kind of bring the whole thing full circle. You talked about Chris giving you like all these cool opportunities. You got to go on the smoking tire with Matt Farah. I years and years ago had Matt on my old podcast. He was a guest on my podcast, which is another one of those moments where I was like, is this happening? But he explained to me that the universe rewards hustle. And he's like, it's like every time you work hard or you do something, it's like buying a lottery ticket. And the more lottery tickets you buy, the more likely you are to win. And he's like, and some people, they buy one lottery ticket and they win the grand prize and it's perfect. And he goes, and other people, they'll work their entire lives and get a whole bunch of lottery tickets, but they'll still never win it big. He goes, but if you're not getting tickets, you have no chance of winning. And it's like, it's one of those things that stuck with me where I'm like, yeah, like if you just keep pushing, you keep trying for these opportunities, they're all, you know, it's luck in some way, but you have to push to get luck. Like it's such a weird situation. What is it? Somebody said like luck is opportunity meets preparedness. Yeah. Right. Like if you weren't prepared to go do these things, you know, then this wouldn't have happened. And it does. It happens to line up, and it's a super cool story. And there's a bunch of people that have similar stories that don't have the same ending, that have a worse ending or a different ending. But like, this is yours. Like, this is what happened. There's no changing that. It's not your fault, for better or for worse. But it's you. You did all the things, and this is how it ended up. It's super cool though. I love hearing those type of stories where everything just, it seems very weird. Like, let me explain. I need to tell you all this so I can tell you this thing. Like, you have to understand everything that came before so you can understand what's happening now. And that's cool, man. I've had the very shortened version of that, but I'm very happy that I got the full length one.
Yeah, it's a really fun story to tell. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I just said, it's because again, you walk through the whole thing as you're telling it. You kind of like relive all of those moments. You know what I mean? And even like to the Matt Farah thing, like that was to me someone I always looked up to as well. Like I remember watching him on like Super Speeders DVDs when I was a young kid and stuff. Yeah. You know, like
who can get a ticket first, right?
I know, right? That's where I am sitting right now, where he double lined past someone in that Mercedes to get the cop to leave. I don't even remember the guy's name. Oh my god,
it was Rob Ferretti.
Yes, him.
Yeah,
I could almost throw a rock at where that happened, where I'm sitting.
Oh, no way.
So it was Route 287. Well, I should probably say this, but Route 287 in New Jersey, which, like, if I opened this window next to me, you would hear the highway. And it was right where that whole scene was filmed. But it's just crazy how small the world really is. But yeah, to be able to go on his podcast, I mean, that was funny enough because, you know, he's a pretty prestigious podcaster in this world that was my first podcast I was ever on in my life. And like, I didn't even know what it was like. And here I am with Chris, and we had Brian Highcotter with us, and Zach Clapman, which Zach Clapman's actually the reason why I got to go on this podcast, funny enough.
Yeah, because he's kind of into drifting and started like bringing in more drift related people into it. And Matt's tied to a lot of drifters as well. Like he's no stranger to any of this industry.
Yeah. It worked out so well. My again, just people my friend Ryan, who works on my team, I've talked about him a lot of times on this podcast now, but Ryan is close with Zach Clapman because they've done a lot of work together in that space. Okay. And I met Zach through him, and he was just like, hey, you got all this really cool stuff going on right now. This was at the start of my first season with Forsberg Racing. He's like, let's get you on the podcast. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is amazing. And originally it was supposed to just be me. And I'm like, well, we ended up working it out where Chris and everyone else can come on. And it was really cool. I go back and watch sometimes, but it was such a cool experience, like especially that it just finished off that whole year. We did it the day of setup for FD Irwindale in that year of 2021. So it was the end of the season. It was my first, season with Forsberg Racing, and all this craziness that went on with Grid Life, with FD, with building a whole car, with all this stuff. And then to end it with going on, the Smoking Tire podcast. It was just such a cool year. A year I'll always remember,
Getting on that podcast is like in my hierarchy of things I need to get done before the end of my career. So I reached out, him and I were chatted last year about trying to make it happen for Long Beach, and just didn't end up lining up. So this is actually a good reminder. I should probably hit him up again and be like, hey man, sorry to be a bug, sorry to be that guy, but I really would love to be on the show.
You know what they say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, dude.
Hey man, that's what you and I've been pushing for this since the beginning of January. So the timing hasn't worked out until now, but I'm glad it did. So
yeah, it's as soon as you put it up in the Discord, I was like, fire away. I was like trying to email you. I'm like, yes, get me on there. I'd love to do it, because we've only ever done the one after the podium celebrations at Atlanta.
Right.
That was like the little taste thing we did. But I still think, like, if you're listening to this show and you don't listen to the podium show, I still think the podium shows are the best ones, because they're like unhinged. You guys are on such a high, and it's like, I don't know. If the entire season could just be those, I'd be okay with that. Yeah, it's absolutely. That's when you're like just like you said, of like where you learn the most about the sport on Saturday night after the event is wrapping up. It's because of all the emotions. You get the emotions of all the highs, you get the emotions of all the lows, you get the emotions of what they've learned that event. And it's the same thing with the podium one, except for you get that tenfold. Like you get all the craziness. There's nothing more as a driver, as a competitor, like addicting than winning, right? Or being in that podium thing. So when you actually get to that level of getting a win or getting a podium or whatever it might be, your energy is just through the roof. Like it's so hard to replicate outside of that, I guess is the word I would use. But that's, I think, why it makes such a good product for your pod, your that style of a podcast. I agree. It's a really cool way to do it. I actually really like a lot of these long format ones because I drive a lot. So I listen to you talk all the time between all of your podcasts.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
It works out well for me. I spend a ton of time behind the wheel. So it works out well for listening while driving. You killed a lot of my time, put it that way, in a good way.
I always enjoy hearing from people that listen, because like it's very easy to forget that people listen to this, right? Like when you're recording it, we're looking into computers and stuff like that, but like you forget very quickly that while we're doing this, somebody in the future is actually listening, and they're driving, or they're hanging out with, they're whatever they're doing. A lot of people, it's in the shop. Like I get that all the time. A lot of the drivers and mechanics like, oh man, I was in the shop the other day and you were talking about this. I'm like, right, yeah. And they'll bring up stuff that I forgot that I said. And I'm like, yeah, oh right, yeah, I did say that. Sometimes something will get clipped, and then I'll definitely be forced to remember what I said. But that's a whole other can of worms.
I bet. It's got to be crazy for you. I mean, think of how many minutes of you talking and how many people have listened to those minutes across all the platforms over the time. And that's pretty wild. Like, that's a crazy thought.
Dude, we're 100 and... I don't know, we'll probably be like 106 or something episodes for just this show. I was 100 and something on my old show. So yeah, there's 200 let's say averaging 2 hours each. So there's 400 hours of just podcasts of me talking.
That's
just
wild.
Nuts. Yeah, I don't know what that works out to in like days and stuff like that. I mean, it'd be about a quarter of it. So there's 100 days of me talking roughly.
Yeah, it worked out really well when you first started doing this too. I remember I was taking a lot of drives down to MA Motorsports from where I live in North Jersey, and like it worked out so well that I could like the drive was the exact amount of time of like one of the podcasts. So like I was like, I don't want to listen to music or whatever. So I'd start it as soon as I leave my driveway, and I would just get the whole thing done when I get there, and then I would start another one on the way home. It worked out so well, for driving versus just listening to music or whatever. It gets repetitive after a while. You can only listen to so many songs,
Yeah, I'll try and do like albums back. It sounds weird. I recently got like back into CDs. Like I know how like weirdly vintage that is. I've got 2 Rise Against albums on my desk right now.
Wait, is that the brownish? I think I have that. It had that exact one.
This is Endgame.
Not that one. Is the other one?
This is, if there's anyone you're gonna have, it'd be
that
this.
Yes, I had that exact one. I remember popping it in my 2010 WRX-STI when I was a kid just to listen to
throwback.
it. I know, right? I'm a recovering Subaru kid when I was younger.
All the head gaskets.
Yeah. Yep. Got that right.
Yeah. The G35 I picked up still has a working CD player in it. So I was like, I need to put something in it. Like I got to jam out in line. And I bought Linkin Park Hybrid Theory for the first CD back. And then my wife was out at like a vintage shop and they had a bunch of CDs. And she's like, she saw 2 Rise Against albums. These 2 of my favorites, and bought those. And I'm like, oh no, I feel it. I feel this addiction happening. It's weird to think that CDs, like that's a vintage item now, man. Like, we're vintage.
We really are. Like it's funny that you say that you just picked up Hybrid Theory, because I think I listened to A Place for My Head 5 times this week, and I don't know why. It's so. I was sitting there with my coworker, and I just started like humming the entry line. I was like doing, like that thing.
Yeah.
And like I was like, I gotta listen to this song, and I listened to it like 5 times this week, which is funny, and the rest of Linkin Park and stuff like that. But I remember the very first time I got to plug my iPod into my car to listen to music, and I was like, mind blown. I'm like, wait a minute, like I don't have to buy CDs anymore or whatever, or make CDs anymore.
There's
to listen to music.
There's something about it though, because like this is like, I mean, all the folds and like the CDR, like, man, I sound so much like my dad with with records right now. It's scaring me. But like, dude, like we forgot like how good album art is. Like this has got all the lyrics in it, which it's like, oh man, I don't know. I know how I sound right now. I'm kind of ashamed, but I'm also not at the same time.
Nah, you gotta own it.
Yeah.
These kids these days, they don't get it.
And you know what? You're a dad now. You're gonna start saying stuff. You're gonna make jokes. My kids all the time be like, Dad, I'm hungry. I'm like, hi, hungry. I'm Dad. And they're like, every time.
Yeah.
Like I can't help it.
I still do that to my wife all the time.
Oh, it's great. It's good training. It's good training.
Yeah, I'm excited for dad jokes. I think I'm going to come into that one pretty good.
I have to get a new seat, but like I made a rule with my son where if he helped me get this car back up to, looking decent, so he helped like block down the body so we could repaint it. I was like, I'll let you drive it. He's 11. And I'm like, 5 years ago, I would have been like, man, 11's just way too young. And now I'm like 11. I'm like, shit, he's probably like 2 years behind on sim drifting. Like we got to get him in a car soon if he's going to be good. It's
crazy. Wild to think of just I know you've talked about it a bunch of times on this podcast, but just the progression of every sport, but it's especially ours. I think it's super transparent in drifting as well as any type of road. That's contrary to dirt bikes. Like there's basically no way to replicate that properly to train. Like you can train the theory of it, but you can't train like the practice of it, which you can do in drifting, you can do in road racing and stuff like that. Which is
that's a good point.
As you've seen, it is so important. And as long as you have a person that is tall enough or developed enough at a young age to reach the pedals and drive a car, like to that degree, like you can bring him into it at such a younger age. Like I always say that to my wife and to my friends. I'm like, my son's name is Axel. I'm like, Axel's going to be driving a car like by the time he's 10. I'm like, this kid is going to be driving drift cars at least. I think probably before then. That's how hopeful thinking now. He's only 3 months old, but it's just like, it's just crazy to see. Like, I have a good friend of mine whose son races dirt bikes and started racing electric dirt bikes at the age of 2. Like 2 years old, racing these little, they're called Stasics. It's not like a full blown dirt bike, but it's like a Strider that's electric. But this kid is very capable and like super, super talented at riding. And I'm like, this kid's 2 years old. You can barely talk, you barely have sentences, and you're going out racing with 15 other kids, on these things. It's just crazy to see as every generation goes on, how the knowledge is passed down, and technology and everything else has came to back that up. And just how much earlier you can bring, children into these sports if they're interested in it too. That's the biggest thing. They got to be interested in.
Yeah, you can't force them. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say I was forced through hockey at a young age, but like I was definitely nudged pretty heavily to be like, no, this is what we're doing this weekend. Like, if you wanna, this is what we're doing. It's Saturday. We play hockey. That's what we do on Saturdays. So I never got resentful, but I definitely, like, once I didn't have to play, I took a break where I was like, I'm good. I wish I didn't. Like, in hindsight now, I wish I never stopped playing, mostly because this has been a really rough season getting back into it. But similar to like you, and although my performance wasn't nearly as good as a third place, but yeah, like taking that break and coming back to it, even 6 months I took off to move. And shockingly, there's not a lot of hockey in Florida, believe it or not.
a lot of places to practice outside.
I mean, there's a decent amount. I mean, I came from a place where there was, I think, 15 ice pads within maybe 30 minutes. And now it's like, I've got one 20 minutes away, which is great. The next one's an hour away. And then the one after that's another 2 hours away. So it's like, yeah. I do agree. Like, forcing your kid into a sport is never a great idea, but you gotta, it's so tough. You gotta know like when to push and when not to, and no one's going to tell you you're doing it right. No one's going to tell you you're doing it wrong, but like, it's definitely a tough one. I will say though, with a name like Axel Jagger, that is the most race car name I've heard in a very long time.
Yeah. It's funny. I picked the name as at a young age. I've always wanted a son. If I had a son, I always wanted to name him Axel. I had to sell my wife on it a little bit because right next door to the house I'm in right now, their son's name is Axel, and my wife grew up like babysitting him and stuff. So like she was like a little weird about that side of the name. It's spelt differently than the way we spell our son's name, but I always liked the name because it's like my name is Alex, so it's the letters switched around. So we did AXEL, whereas I'm ALEX. So it's like the same letters switched around, and then I always just thought it sounded cool. I thought it sounded like someone that would be fast at riding dirt bikes or racing cars or whatever it might be. To me, it just seemed like a cool name. So it just always felt right to go that way. So I did have to sell her a little bit on it. I was like, look, in 10 years from now, we're never going to see your neighbor or even hear about him. Like we're not even going to know who he is. The kid's going to be away with his, in college or whatever. So it's to me, I didn't know the kid that well. I've ridden quads with him a couple times, but I don't really know him that well. So it's like it didn't matter to me. I was just so sold on this name. And we gave him his middle name is Glenn, which was my dad's name, my dad passed away a couple years ago, so it was to honor him. But I do think it's a cool name, Axel Glenn Jagger. I think it flows along pretty well, and whatnot. But yeah, to go back to what you're saying about pushing them, it's like it's hard. It's the one thing I ask a lot of my friends who are parents whose sons are into like dirt bike racing, particularly because it's the easiest for them to get into at a young age. It's like, how do you get them into it? Because for me, it was the opposite. Like I never had anyone pushing it into me. I had to beg basically to ride dirt bikes or to do anything like that. Like my family doesn't come from a motorsports background at all. A lot of my family was medical. My dad was a foot doctor, like my uncle is a dentist, like my sister's into fashion, a lot of people like just not into motorsports at all. Like I didn't have anyone to show me what to do. I was just obsessed with it. Like my first word was wheel. So for me, like I just wanted to do it. So I couldn't get enough of it. Like I felt like I almost got into it at a later age, and everything I did was what it's because I wanted it so badly. So it's like different like, I don't know how to navigate that. And I'm sure I'm going to have to navigate that with a son now. It's like, how do I try to give him that same want as I had without forcing it upon him? Because I just never had to do that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, for sure. For sure. Just kidding. This is an ad read. I hope we got this. Knowing Kyle, knowing our editor, Kyle, he made that super, super seamless. But I am interrupting this message and I'm super sorry. Maybe you're in the middle of your workday. Maybe you're driving. Maybe you're just mindlessly listening and now you're paying attention. So now that I have your attention, guess what? Save 20%. That's right. Save 20%. Use podcast 25 at checkout. PODCAST 25. The number is 25 at checkout. You're going to save yourself 20%. Yeah, I think it's just to give them the opportunity. Like, just give them the opportunity if they want to do it and provide the initial introduction and just feel it out. Like, my son had no interest in playing hockey until, I don't know, he was probably 8, I think. And like, I was on skates like at a year and a half. Like, it was same, like with you talking about those kids on bikes. Like, I was one of those kids in hockey where it was like, oh, you can stand? We're putting you on skates now. Like, that's that. I think it was the next day. And yeah, I tried, like even my dad tried to get my son into hockey and just no interest. And then he got into baseball. And then he realized that all of his friends played hockey in the winter instead of playing baseball. And he's like, well, I want to play hockey now because that's where my friends are. And then we got him playing. And then it like, dude, we have a net and like fake ice out at the edge of the driveway. And he'll go out and shoot a bucket full of pucks. Like, I don't have to bug him. It's the opposite issue where I'm like, okay, dude, like it's 9 o'clock at night. Like, our neighbors are guaranteed they're tired of hearing you, slap shot, top corner. Like, you need to come inside. So even last night there was like public skating and he's just like, I want to go public skating because he's in between winter and spring league. He's like, I don't want to lose my edge. I want to go public skating. And my wife's like, for 2.5 hours straight, all he did was skate. Like, he didn't come in, he didn't take a break. He just went and skated. So it's like, but then at the same time, there are days where, they'll have like a really rough tournament, or this year he had some like really shit kids on his team. And he's like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. I'm like, why not? He's like, oh, these asshole kids. And I'm like, you're going to give all this up because one kid's a dick. Like,
it's just such a funny thing to hear out loud. Yeah, a bunch of shit kids on his team. Sorry,
dude,
really
trust me, just you'll run into it, man. Like, well, so it's like, I mean, listen, an 11-year-old can be an asshole. Like, let's just be honest here. It can happen.
Were you not 1 on 11? Because I know I sure was.
100% I was. Like, but yeah, it was like terror. It was just a rough year for him. And I'm like, dude, like, don't let this define everything else you want to do. It's one rough year. Like, that's it. I mean, to flip it and bring it back to you, like, you're coming off of one rough year. So how do you, look at that transition. How
call me out.
So, well, I mean, listen, I was running through the stats, like, obviously.
I started great. Went awful after that. 6 to, I believe, 12th and then down to 21st. Like, that's rough. That's a rough go. Now, I did go back and look at all the individual battles. You did not have an easy run in 2024. Yeah. Your seeding battles all were against absolute killers. Like, that was rough. All of those seeding battles could have easily been top 4 or final battles. Yeah, it's hard, like, it's like that end old topic you've probably talked about a million times of like, should the seeding bracket exist or not?
I would love to know your thoughts.
And I'm like the one over here, like, get rid of that seeding bracket. It ruined my year. Because I always qualified really, really well. Like, if you went and looked at all the previous years, I'd have really good qualifications. And I felt like it just suited me a little bit better than how the seeding bracket played out. It was a crazy year to look back at it. It started out on a really big high, getting the second place at Atlanta, which was 2 podiums in a row. Yeah, I got 3rd last year. I got 2nd in 2024. So it was cool to like come off that high, and I was like, nice, like, this is going to be my year. We're going to have a great battle to the end. I was like super stoked. I was like, I was set on, every year I'm set on a championship, but I was really, really feeling good after Atlanta in 24 to go for the championship. And then, we go to New Jersey. We went to New Jersey. We had the best practice session I have ever had in FD. Like, we had this car so dialed. Like, my crew chief, James, he is, funny enough, not from like, he's into drifting, but he didn't come into this wanting to be a crew chief. He just fell into that role, and he's so good at it. And he's learned so much. He's set up my car to be amazing. He's set up even, like, we put Chris's car on my setup at New Jersey, and the thing got crazy good. It's just, anyway, I felt on top of the world going into my, at that point, it was top 32 battle against Jeff Donati. We it's funny because, like, it's this conversation comes up a lot in drifting, I'm sure, with you, especially on your podcast, but it's like, we don't try to make my car really grippy. I'll be honest, like, we don't go out there for all out speed all the time. Like, we went out for Atlanta, and Atlanta, we had the car so loose. Like, it was like the loosest it has ever been. And I walked my way up through, I got a little lucky, but I walked my way up through my side of the bracket to get to the finals. And here's Tommy Lemaire. And I'm like, this dude's car is so fast. And like, and we were so outside of like our base setup, which is pretty grippy. We were like way looser than our base setup. So, which is what we've done two Atlantas in a row, and two Atlantas do got podiums. It's funny to make that argument that the loose setup got us the results. So here we are, super excited. You know, we're going to the finals. We just didn't have the grip to stick with him. I didn't want to grip the car up too much because I didn't want to totally make a totally different car. But to go to the level of pace that I know we needed for his car, we would have had to have made a drastic setup change that I just wasn't comfortable doing. So we added a little bit more grip, wasn't enough, made a little bit of a fool of ourselves in the chase behind him, coming into interclip one, basically threw the whole battle away there. Although it did, one person went for it one more time, one judge. Don't know how. He really earned the win. He did. I'll be the first to say it. So we go to New Jersey. In New Jersey, I always have this really, really good, very fast setup for my car. Like, we ran the same basic setup for years now for New Jersey, and it is, if you put a stopwatch to it, it's probably faster than most of the Pro 1 cars out there, to be honest, and on a 255. And I love driving the car. To me, this is, again, a touchy subject of drifting. I love the difficulty of a really gripped up drift car. And to me, I not to go on a tangent, I think it should be rewarded more than it is if you can pull it off. Keyword, if you can pull it off.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
But so
Agreed.
We go to New Jersey, have this amazing setup, and I'm like, we're going to kill it. We go out, battle Jeff Donati. I don't know. Truthfully, it's one of those scenarios in life that I have ran through this so many times, and I just don't know how the mistake I made happened, but it's just how it happens. You know, I end up dropping a tire off the track and basically losing the battle that way. He also dropped a tire, but mine was worse than him. It also just so happened to be that the walls along the track in New Jersey, I know this might sound like an excuse, but the walls were moved. They were pushed back quite a bit than what I was used to. I have done so many laps around New Jersey. I could go there tomorrow and drive all day if I wanted to. Like, I'm very close with the owners. I could drive there all I want. And my reference points were set up with those walls kind of there. They move the walls. I go out for an event and somehow I drop a tire because I'm just used to my reference point of where the wall is and how close I can get to it. And I think it messed with my brain that I could be farther off the track than I was, or, I couldn't have been. You get what I'm saying? It messed up my depth perception to a degree, which is my own fault. It's not an excuse. I should have just been more prepared for it. But that's just kind of my synopsis of how I think that happened. I ended up losing that battle, and that was pretty gut-wrenching. That was my first top 32 loss that I ever had at that point. So I went that was my fourth season of doing FD before ever being knocked out in top 32. Like, I always have made it past 32 before that. So that one was honestly almost harder to swallow than the seating bracket ones, if I'm being honest with you. As crazy as it is to say. It just, I don't know. It was gut-wrenching because I felt so good that day. Like, I really felt like we were a championship contender. Like, I felt like we had the car, we had the runs, we had everything sorted, we had the program behind it, and threw it away. So let me go to St. Louis. St. Louis, I strongly, and I will be nice because I love everyone in this sport, strongly disagree with a lot of how that track layout was set up. mostly in regard to Outerzone 4, I don't really care about Outerzone 1 wall being there. That's fine.
Okay.
I do think it was dicey for cars, but to me, the level of danger is fine. You want to make it more dangerous for that kind of thing? I'm cool with it. I don't care. It does stink that people board sled their cars and wreck their stuff, and I get it, but that's racing. It is what it is. You know?
Yeah.
It's just the Outerzone 4 scenario. I know we don't have to dive into it. I know all the stories of why it was the way that it was.
I was there when it happened. Like when that wall, and we're all sitting there going, like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
So,
to me, I really, I felt strongly with how everything went that we should have just gotten rid of Outerzone 4 like we have done in previous years, or made it shorter. Maybe not gotten rid of it, but cut it in half. Like the previous year, it ended halfway through the zone. We didn't have to finish it. So I don't know why all of a sudden, when it was the most difficult year to finish it, why we had to make an end of Outerzone 4 to finish. Like other years, we didn't have it. And there was no wall there anyway. So it was like, what was the... Anyway, doesn't matter now. It's in the past. You get my point. I felt we were the first car in practice, the very, very first car in line. We had our same good base setup that we were running at New Jersey, a little bit looser, but not much, because it's a track that you could really put some grip in with these cars. First lead car, go out, just lay down this what felt like amazing lead. I literally just watched it the other day. Again, I felt so good right off the trailer. I was like, this is it. We're right back to where we want to be. You know, we struggled with Outerzone 4 because they didn't paint the lines like for almost any of our practice. We had like maybe 2 or 3 laps of practice where Outerzone 4 was painted in ProSpec, and it was like the second day or something. Or it was like I'm trying to remember, it was like warm up for a seating bracket maybe or something. We didn't have the lines there for a lot of it. So my wife is my spotter still to this day, ever since she got me my win from texting. And she's just like, you know, you're Outerzone 4, you're getting in it, you're falling out of it, and you're getting in it again. Look, you know, good, but you're not feeling it completely. And like any driver who's trying to go for perfection, you know, I'm like really trying to nail 4. So we go to our seating bracket battle with Margaritas. You know, he's a great driver. Obviously, he's done really well. His car is fast, you know, and stuff like that. We had a really, really good. I'm trying to remember if he led first or not. I remember having a really good chase, and the same thing as I did in New Jersey, I dip a tire off in Outerzone 4, you know, and basically, or dip 2 tires off, I guess, because of the way that it was painted, which you couldn't see because it was all gone at this point. But anyway, I digress. I lose that battle, you know, and I get knocked out in seating bracket. And I'm like, man, this is really gut wrenching. You know, we went from like trying to fight for a championship to, you know, making 2 of the same mistakes in a row, you know, dropping tires off. And so this was another thing that I personally feel strongly about in FD, is that I think that 3 tires should be a 0. Especially in nuanced situations where the track is not the most ideal. You know, like in this scenario, we didn't even know where the zone was per se. You couldn't see it because the paint was basically gone. So it's like, why make a 2 off a 0? You know, like, and I was like prairie dogging a 2 off. Like I've watched the slow-mo that I have from Larry 10 1,000 times over. Inside tire is like right on the outside cusp of where you think the line would be. Outside tire is not even close, you know? But still, like, it wasn't 3 off. And I just feel like in that particular battle, the rest of my lead, if you watched it back to back, the rest of my lead at that point was better than Margarita said, that my chase was significantly better. So it's like, I felt like it was just an annoyance of things. But again, it's my mistake. I understand that. I'm not faulting anyone else but myself. I'm the one that should have not dipped the tires off. I knew 2 off. It's not like it was a secret. You know, I knew 2 off was a 0. And I still, instead of playing it safe, I was trying to go for the perfect run. And I just went over the line a bit and lost the battle. So anyway, that's those 2 battles. Utah, I don't even want to talk about Utah, honestly. Utah, we had absolutely the worst possible setup. It was just, I don't know what we tried to make the car what I thought was going to work really well, and we should have just stuck with previous years' Utah setups that I had, because they were really good. Again, funny enough, I have gone to Utah 3 times now, and I know this is really crazy to say because I'm from New Jersey, and you realize how far away it is. I've gone to Utah 3 times. I have never won a battle once. The first year, I got a bye run into the 16. So I guess you could technically say I beat bye run from qualifying. Basically, I qualified high enough that I got a bye run in. The second year, I got a knocked out. No, I guess, yeah, the second year, maybe I did win. I don't know, whatever the case is. I think the math comes out to be maybe I won one battle, but I don't think I did. I honestly think I didn't win one at all. How many times did we go to Utah? Twice?
I think so. I can look it up. I got it open in front of me.
I guess it's 2 years. Sorry. So I went 2 times, and that's basically the story of that. But I went up against Chris Leonard and his Mustang. I love S550s. I think they're really cool cars. I like Chris Leonard. He's a great time. We just had very different cars, very, very different setups and paces. And 2 times I've gone to Utah, or whatever, I guess it is 2, way too gripped up and feeling amazing in the lead, and just made total fool out of myself in the chase. In comparison to other cars. It's a hard track. It's really fast. It's a really high elevation, so it takes a lot out of people's cars. The surface is like so smooth that it's very difficult to get front grip out of your car. I'm sure you've heard that from other drivers. And it's just like a weird track. I love doing lead runs there. Like, it's like one of my favorite tracks ever to drive in the lead, but it is very difficult to chase. To me, it's just very difficult to chase. No matter which way they run the beginning. I know it's like kind of controversial how they did it in 2024. Some people hate it. Some people love it over the rumble strips. But no matter what, it's very difficult to chase people there. I think most people's cars end up being a lot freer than they're used to, just to try to make up for the elevation and the speed of it alone. You know?
Yeah, the setup change was, I get it, because it was, I mean, really it was meant to make it so it wasn't so much of a stretch in between first and second outside zone, because of like, before that, you almost had to drive straight and then like weirdly transition and like almost park the car and then get back. Like, it just didn't flow super well, especially with the way cars are driving now. Like, I get the idea behind it, but like whether or not it worked is a whole other can of worms. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Drivers figured it out. And this is always the argument that I hear, and an argument that I will agree with is, you know what? You figured it out. There are drivers that figured it out. It's that, right? There are drivers that put down incredible runs with no matter what the layout is. And it's like, those, like, that's the difference between good and great drivers.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love so much about our sport too. You know, it's just like, there's so much nuance to it. And even in a 4-round championship, like ProSpec has, which is difficult because it's only 4 rounds, like, the diversity in tracks is so broad. Like, you have 2 really crazy high speed, road course racetracks, and then 2 much tighter events like that. So it's cool because it could tailor to different styles of driving. Like, I think Atlanta works really well for my style and why I've done well there, because I've spent a lot of time on road courses. Like, I've worked at a place called Monticello Motor Club as a racing instructor, and I've just done laps and laps and laps, and I understand like the racing line very well. And in Atlanta, for all intents and purposes, you basically run what would be considered a racing line for a lot of the track. And to me, that flows really well. It does make it a little bit harder to chase, which was also the issue at Utah. Originally, they ran kind of almost like a racing line, which made it awesome and fun in the lead, but it made it really hard to chase because you'd end up in the smoke line a lot, and that's anyone who drifts knows that's kind of horrifying when you're blind at 80 miles an hour. So it's cool though. Like you said, it really definitely separates the men from the boys. The ones that figure out all the tracks, the ones that figure out the setup for all the tracks and everything like that, and the ones that can figure out exactly what the judges want out of you at all the tracks. That's a whole nother dynamic to this sport, which is fun, because it's always changing. That's, I think, why a lot of us are so into this sport, because it's just, it's not the same thing every event. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's such a tough nut to crack. Like, it's not just, okay, drive this track as fast as you can. It's like, okay, we've really got to figure out so many different aspects of it. And it's what makes the sport difficult to understand to a lot of people. But it's also like, once you figure it out, you're like, damn, this is crazy, right? Like, it's almost the difference between like checkers and chess. Like, almost anybody could watch checkers and pretty much figure out the rules, right? Whereas like chess, like, if you don't know the rules to chess, this doesn't make a lot of sense. But once you figure out the rules to chess, you're like, damn, this is crazy. This is like a really nuts game. And that I very much feel like drifting is that way. Like for me I get asked all the time to explain it to people, and it's like, it's really tough. I'm not amazing at explaining it to somebody who's never seen it. If you want to get into like the real deep nuances, I'm there. I'm happy to nerd out like crazy, but I just tell people, I'm like, the guy in the front is trying to make it around and get as close to all the objects as he can, while the guy behind him is trying not to hit him, but get as close as he can without hitting it. And like, that's kind of it. And then everything else is just wild, and I'll explain it as we go. Like,
it's definitely easier to explain to people if it's happening in front of them, or if they're watching it, like to some degree. Like if you're trying to explain it to someone and you have no visual reference, it's very difficult. It's especially if people don't have super big knowledge of like motorsports in general. It's not like, it's kind of like figure skating, and it's kind of like racing, but it's also kind of not, because we like I always say to people, like, I'm going to one of my races, and then they'll be like, how's your race? And I'm like, well, it's still kind of not really a race. Like, it is a race. I know. It isn't. It's like, what do we call it?
Yeah. I've fallen into that too. Yeah. Yeah. Or like to explain to people, even just going out and like banging doors with a friend, like, oh, like, what are you up to this weekend? I'm heading out to the racetrack. Oh, you like watching a race? Like, no, I'm driving. They're like, oh, like, what kind of, what class do you go? What race class? Like, what do you race? I'm like, well, I'm not racing, but it's at a racetrack. And like, what are you doing there then? I'm like, this is just, let me, hang on. Can I just show you something really quick? Like, like, see this, I'm doing this, but like really terribly. Like, that's what I'm doing this weekend.
Yeah. It's funny because it's like, it is a race to the people who are in it. It is a race. And it's probably the most competitive, like, race style thing that actually doesn't go by being the fastest. I know, if that makes sense. It's like, you're not the first person to the finish line, and like speed doesn't matter, but it's crazy how much it does matter. You know what I mean? It's like,
it doesn't matter until it does.
Yeah, it doesn't matter until it does. That's exactly it. So no one wants to be, it's like the never ending thing in drifting is like, no one wants to be hung out to dry. So they're all trying to be, the fastest guy out there while still filling all the zones. And again, like I said before, I think that is such an exciting thing to me of the sport, because especially being a driver, how difficult it is to make all of your marks and do a high impact, exciting lead run at the level you need to with a car that is difficult to drive. Like everyone has said a million times about drifting, like, it's not just like the loosest car out there with really loose tires trying to slide around. Like, our cars do not want to do this, like, really at all. They don't want to do this. They're so gripped up. They're so pissed off. They're so angry at us because we're trying to make them drift when they're really grippy, for the most part. And it's for the most part. Me, I love that side of it. I just think it's so cool to see someone do like a Chelsea Denofa just throw like an absolutely mental lead run down, and that car, like, you put a stopwatch to it, it's going to be so fast, and you're just like, wow, like. To me, that is something that is so impressive, because it's so difficult to do. And it's crazy as it's not that transparent through a live stream in a way. Like, don't get me wrong, it's like the crazy amounts of angle and the crazy amounts of like stuff like that is, but you really don't notice like how much faster a drift car is than another one when it's in the lead. You know what I mean? You could tell by the chase car being bound up a lot of times, but you might, especially to someone that doesn't know the sport as dynamically, they might just think that they're having car issues or making mistakes. So it's got to be hard, like, you really don't know it, but I don't know. To me, I love watching a really properly executed lead run by someone that is just like so talented and their car is really gripped up. It's just, it's so cool to me. It's so cool to me.
I'm right there with you. I know I've been very vocal about people not over gripping their cars. I fully aware of that.
I agree with you. I'm not right. I don't disagree with your logic. Your logic is sound behind it.
Yeah. But I 100% agree with you that, like, watching a car that's like right wicked up, it's like that engine feels like it's going to pop at any moment. The tires are on the edge the whole time. Like, you're not sure how much life they're going to get out of it. And just watching a run like that, that's, 2/10 faster than anybody else. And you're like, Jesus, like, how did they do that? And on the note of the live stream, like, because I tell people, you have, if you've never been to an event make a pilgrimage, make it your one vacation a year. Like, if you're listening to this and you've never been to an event, just find a way, figure it out, because it's so different. And the cameras can't do it justice, partially because they have to be up so high to like make sure the vantage point makes sense. But like, if we had cameras that were ground level, that were showing it at full speed, it wouldn't make sense how fast they're going. Like, it would do nothing for the live stream. You just be like it's even watching F1 stuff where you're like, it's, you know, they're coming by, it's like, and you're like, okay, that shot was kind of useless other than to show me how fast they were. Exactly, right? Like, it's something I would love to see on the live stream, but it's completely useless to like aiding and judging or aiding. Like, for entertainment value, a ground level up close camera is phenomenal, but that's all it's good for. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like you said, seeing it in person is really what nails it to me. Like, that's what got me so interested in FD. Like, I remember going to my first wall FD event. I think it was like 2013 maybe. And I've said this many times to people over the years, but I remember walking into the like stadium there at Wall, New Jersey. And when I showed up to the event, walking down the stairs with my friends, I see coming around the bank was Forsberg, funny enough, in his VK56 car, and Charles Ng in a G37, I think is what it was. I don't remember. I think it was a G37 or G35. But like, they were just on the wall, and I hear like this. I didn't know what the VK. I didn't even know what a VK56 was at the time. I just knew it was a V8 in Chris's car. You know, just making like these crazy noises echoing off the bowl, and it's like a sensory overload. Formula drift is the way that I'll say it to people. You know, it's like when you're there in person, especially at some of the tracks where you really get a good view of it, like say, you know, English Town, even for that matter. It's like, it's so cool. And I can see why people are so into it. It's just so mind blowing. Like, you watch it, it just seems like what you're not supposed to do. Because it is not. It is exactly what you're not supposed to do with a car. You know what I mean? It's like everything you're not supposed to do with a car at one time. And I think that's what's always been so exciting to me about it, and why it has grown at the trajectory it has. Because it provides that sensory overload of a sport, you know, that a lot of sports don't provide. And you really only get it in person. You could get, if you know the sport, you can kind of tell like a really crazy battle. Like, if you're on the live stream, and don't get me wrong, I watch a lot of the events I can't go to, and I'm sitting there screaming behind my phone or my TV, usually at Chris, you know, or someone, or like some of my friends, you know, people that I became close with. You know, like, and I'm just yelling at it. But like, if you're there in person, it's a totally different ball game.
There's something about it being head to head, and head to head twice, that like adds such a difference to the sport that is just so unmatched. Like, drag racing, you get the head to head, but it's over so fast. And I've watched drag racing with people that like very much watch drag racing, and they can see it like in the moment. They can see, you know, the 60 foot, they can see the reaction time at the tree, like those nuances that we pick up, like when someone's making a small adjustment, how they're, you know, handling their chase, how they initiate, like we inherently know that and can just absorb it in the moment. And I've watched it with drag racing, and people are really good with it, and it's cool. But it's the fact that like we have so much that's going on, and then they have to do it again, but then change it up, right? Like, it's similar almost to like a game of skate, right? Like, if you watch like a really competitive game of skate or bike or whatever, where it's like someone does a trick and then the other guy matches it, and then they do a bigger trick, like it feels like that in a similar regard, where you're just like, there's like almost a one-upmanship as you go throughout a run. And I've seen it with drivers where like, you know, they'll be chasing first and the guy in front throws like a pretty good initiation, but like, you know, nothing crazy. And they're like, I'm going to bury him on the initiation. And you can see it, like, you know what they're doing. And they'll just, they're like, their launch out of the gate. You can almost tell the moment they leave the cones, they'll come out of the chicane and it's just whap, whap, whap. And you're like, oh no. And then some massive whip in, and you're like, JTP was so good for it.
I was just about to say that. I was literally just about to say JTP was a pro at that. I love that guy. If he was chasing first, you would see it, like someone would throw like a decent initiation, and then his right after would be like, watch this. Like, this is what you should have done. You want to see a Mustang do something it's totally not supposed to do and pull it off every time.
it's crazy that like you can see a personality through a car in that way. Like that is such a unique thing where I feel like almost everybody on the grid, if you kind of like boxed out their silhouette, but like I just saw the movement of the car, I could still probably pick out who it is.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. You know, I've always said he was kind of like a spirit animal of mine of drifting.
Oh,
You know, he was one of the people that I was like super fangirled over, that I got to make a relationship, like a friendship with, since, you know, doing stuff with Chris. Cause it's funny, like Chris and him are like weirdly good friends. Like I outside of the sport, I wouldn't have known that. But like, I don't know if they've done recent things at King of Hammers, like hanging out together. But like when we'd I learned this again, going back to when we go to Grid Life, and I was like, at the end of the day, after everyone's driving, we're all hanging out, chatting, and it's like JTP, Chris, you know, Field, Odie, like all of us are all just like hanging out, and I'm just like, and Dylan and whatnot. I'm like, man, this is so cool. You know, like for me, as like this kid from New Jersey, like I looked up to all these people, and I like now, like for instance, like I legitimately get like Merry Christmas texts from JTP. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, this is a dude that like I was obsessed with his driving as a kid, and like he's such a good person. You know, he's so funny. You know, he's just like a really good guy, and like to make that relationship with him and like so many other people, it's so cool. But like you said, his driving it always spoke for himself. Like he was never like going for the crazy gripped up, like insane stuff. His car is fast, don't get me wrong, but like he just wanted to go and hang it out there. He's wanted to go hang it out, talk a whole bunch of shit to everyone in a really fun way. And it was just like, and I don't know, it's just like the drifting needs a lot more JTPs. You know, they just need more JTPs. You know, Forrest Wang was kind of like it. He was just a lot quieter.
Yeah.
You know, in the driving
you had to drive so hard against him that it brought out the best in your driving. Like drivers who would be pretty calm and collective, like an Osbo or something, were just very clinical. He would drive against JTP and you'd be doing wild shit. And you're like, what are you doing? This isn't your race. Like JTP would drag people into an uncomfortable position where he'd be like, no. This is the sandbox we're playing in now. You're coming over here.
Yep.
Like I'm not running your race. You're running mine.
Yeah.
And I like, there are like Vaughn will do that, right? Chelsea will do that. There are select drivers that will force drivers to run their race. James Dean would do it, but in like a perfection level.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like, you know, but it was not like James can drive with a lot of style, like 100%.
Oh yeah.
But you just knew you had to be perfect against him, and you would see drivers elevate to that. And that's why, like, I'm so excited to see like Jack Shanahan coming in. I think that's another driver that will drag you into deep waters, right?
Oh my God,
will take you to places. Oh, I'm so pumped.
I think Jack Shanahan is like Ireland's JTP, essentially. Like that's just kind of the way that I've always 100%. Looked at him. You know? I love watching him driving, and he's a similar kind of demeanor to him. Like I know, like JTP is a little bit more soft spoken unless he's with people that he knows.
No. So
I maybe not. At least he's with his peers. Like I don't think he's gonna like go crazy in public. I don't know. At least that I've seen.
His episode will already. Well, so this is the hard part. Is like I recorded with him already, so this episode's gonna come out after, and you'll learn some things about Jack Shanahan. Where you're like, there's no way this is real. There's no way this is the kind of music he's into, or like just he's a much softer man than you might know. Like, but you put him on the track, and he's an animal, and you put him like in the spotters tower, and he's an animal. Like you put him in racing, and he's an animal. And like JTP is the same way, right? Like I've chatted with him outside the track. He's very just, you know, he's the kind of guy leaning up against the wall, like just observing and quiet. But like you put him behind the wheel, I mean, he's screaming at people. Like that's the sport just brings out the best.
Yeah, put him in a driver's meeting and he's just like rowdy as all could be.
So good.
My favorite is seeing him at like a Grid Life drivers meeting. You know, when they're like navigating like multiple cars on the track, and like, you know, Swan, everyone at Grid Life will go off and do their little spiel, and then he'll just be like, all right, all you nerds better get the fuck out of my way. He's like, cause I'm coming. He's like, I don't have time for your guys' shit. He's like, if you're in my way, he's like, use your mirrors, like get out of my, and he's just so funny. And he's funny about it. Like he's not mean about it. He's just like, and everyone in the crowd is just laughing. Like, all right, got it. You see the
But
teal and
also-
blue, get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Yeah, but seriously, because he's going to come past you at like 165 miles an hour with cords on his tires and just send it into a turn and not care at all.
I think it was like Laguna. I saw him, like his car was like overheating or something, and he was just like coasting it around the track. And I would see him like trying like, I think it was like his starter or something went, and he's trying to like bump start it like middle of the track and like just But like tires were completely done and it's just I don't know. He's definitely one of those people like he's somebody who gave me like the nod. It gave me a compliment when I first started announcing, and it like that hit me. Like a lot of people said some very nice things, and I don't want to take anything away from them, but like he was one of those people. He came out, he's like, "Hey man, like I really enjoy you up there," and I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, we're good." Like,
his praises they it's like one of those things like they're few and far between, so they mean a lot. You know, like when he gives you like a compliment, you're like, you're like that really, it feels good. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you got a nod. It's like that fatherly nod of approval in a way. You know what I mean? You know, it's just funny. Like you just said with him with tires. Like I remember I was at Gingerman in 2024 in my FD car, and I just I finished a lap. My coolant temps are through the roof. I think I looked down, my oil temp was like 265 degrees, and I was like my tires were smoked. So I was waiting to pull off the track, and JTP pulled up next to me, and he just like gives me that nod, and he just like starts revving his Coyote to the moon, and I'm like, here we go. We're going to do a whole nother lap, and I'm going to start at 265 degrees. So like, I remember I'm going down the front straight of Gingerman I can hear the cord slapping off my quarter panel, and I'm just like, why am I doing this? I'm like, JTP's behind me. My friend Ricky Hoffman, who did ProSpec too, he was behind him, and I'm just like, here we go. Just going to go send my nice FD car. But it's one of those things like when he pulls up next to you, you're like, I'm not missing out on this run. You know, I'm getting this run in with him.
Yeah, when he calls, you answer.
Exactly. It's funny, but I'm super excited to see Jack Shanahan come to the sport. You know, I think it's going to provide the same value that his brother did. You know, I mean, his and we all knew that Connor was going to come to this sport with a vengeance and really put on a show, and just like he did, just like James did, and I'm sure Jackson do the same. But man, it's just so. I always said, when I found out I was having a son, I didn't even matter if I was going to have a daughter or not. The second I found out I was going to have a kid, I was like, I need to go and truck in some of that water from Ireland, from where James, Jack, and Connor all grew up. I was like, because we need some of that water here. You know, dude. We'll trade them in bagels in New Jersey. We got the good water for the bagels and pizza.
We got the bagel water. Oh man. So getting into this season, I guess like we chatted a little bit before the show, but like anything you can talk about or anything you want to talk about, like what is the plan other than, do better?
So that's the biggest plan is to just, I know everyone says this, it's like to try to not take it as seriously, but take it seriously. You know, I felt like last year it was weird. I had like a level of comfortability that I think was bad. Like I was just really comfortable in the car to the point that I maybe got complacent. And like I hate complacency. And I would make mistakes and make things like that. Like I want to like challenge myself in a way that is productive, but play the right game this year and not like go do dumb things with the car and not make dumb mistakes. Everyone says that. It's easier said than done. The car, as of right now, is going to look a lot different than it has. I'll basically put it like that. But it's going to be very, very similar to what I'm used to. We are making some pretty decent sized changes in our program with stuff with car setup. And it's a team wide stuff. It's all good. It's all great stuff. We're really excited for it. I think we're really headed in the right direction, especially for Chris's program too. It's awesome to see how we bounce so much off each other with our cars. Like I said, there's been times that he has literally put my exact setup in his car, and vice versa. I started because I didn't know anything about Z's. I started with his exact setup in my car. So I'm excited to continue that on this year and learn. But as far as I could share, it's going to look a lot different. Hopefully the driving will be a lot better. and I would really love to go for a championship. I've been saying it every year. I know I am a championship level driver. I just need to put all the pieces together. Like everyone says that. Obviously, it's a little cliche, but I know I can do it. I think anyone who shows up to an event and doesn't think that they could win is a little crazy. You know what I mean? Like you, as a driver, you should show up and feel like you could win. It's the right mindset. But yeah, I'm really excited for this year. It's going to be different. You know, we have a baby now, so like I'm gonna have to figure out navigating that and whatnot with him. I'm also currently under contract buying a new house with a shop and everything to run my program out of. I've been basically running everything of my side of the program, split with my friend Matt Bystrack, who also does ProSpec. Like we grew up together. We went to high school together. We've been friends through all of this. We've always shared the same trailer for transport. We shared the same shop with all of our cars. So it's been hard because we didn't have enough space for 2 programs to run out of the same shop. So I'm really excited to take everything to the next level in my program this year, especially from a content perspective and things like that. Now I'm going to have a nice, very large, well-lit, proper shop to do my own things that don't have conflicting partners in it, because me and Matt have so many conflicting partners that it's really hard to get good content and things with the cars in the same garage and all parts and banners and things. It's just been like difficult. So I'm really excited to take all that to the next level this year with our new, scary buying a house. Everyone knows that. But at the same time, exciting to do that. But and it'll be cool to bring my son to all the rounds. You know, I'm like, the current plan is to bring him to all the rounds. It's going to be pretty crazy to do that because he'll be very young. I mean, he's going on 4 months old now, so he'll be pretty young for most of them, which will be difficult for traveling, but we wouldn't want it any other way, put it that way.
I think I had mine out at his first event at like probably 3 or 4 months. I mean, he was definitely not crawling, and he was already out at his first race event, so you can do it.
Yeah, I'm excited. You know, it's cool that the team is super excited about it. You know, fortunately, obviously we're doing another year with Forsberg. I don't foresee that changing really anytime soon. We have a good thing going, and I've been told many times, like, hey, as long as you want to keep doing this, you got a home here. I would love to I really was really keen on making a jump to pro a couple years ago, and I always said that I wanted to win a championship before doing that. It just hasn't happened yet. So we'll see. That I'm not saying that's out of the cards in the future. It just depends on how we get there. You know, it has to all make sense like anything, you know, and it's not easy. There's a lot of really good competitive people, especially in ProSpec this year. We got so many newcomers, some very talented people coming in. I'm super excited for. It's going to be really, really interesting year, but I'm excited for it and excited to see what we got going on.
I feel like I say this every year, but like looking at the roster of both Pro and ProSpec, looking at some of the changes, I got to peek at the rule book the other day. Pretty excited about that. So it's going to be
Kevin Wells.
Sorry, I can't say anything else.
Kevin Wells, I love you to death, but man, I don't think I've heard many people say they're super excited to see your rule book, except for Jacob getting.
Dude, I got
chops. ProSpec. We get all the crazy rules in ProSpec. So
you guys, everything gets demoed on you guys first. You're like the eldest child, where it's like, okay, we're gonna try out some stuff with you first, and then see if it works.
Yeah.
But I mean, lots of sports do that. So I think it's good. I mean, I'm very, very excited for both rosters. It looks pretty epic. I'm excited. I do wish that like the final track of the year, the replacement for Irwindale, was a ProSpec round. I think it would be wild and needed. But maybe next year.
Yeah. I've always wanted I brought this up in one of our like end of year meetings that like FD does with the drivers. I would love, and I know that this is not the most tangible, but in theory, I would love to see Formula Drift do ProSpec very similar to the way that, like, we're going back to dirt bikes again, but the way that Supercross does like 250s versus 450s. Because I think it'd be so cool if ProSpec had a East Championship and a West Championship. So that means the four like most Eastern rounds had ProSpec, the four most Western rounds had. I know this is double the amount of work for Formula Drift. I get it. But I think it'd be so cool to see that, and then there be like a East first West shootout type thing, you know, like to rope it all in together. I think it would add a cool dynamic. I think it works super well for Supercross and dirt bike racing. I know that adds a ton of work. I know it's a lot of things to make that happen. I know not all the venues can fit both classes to compete at the same time, but I know I always thought that'd be a really cool thing to see happen if it was possible.
I agree. I think, really with anything, and this goes towards, so many different things. Your story, my story, all of it is like, if you want something, just make it known, because you never know. Like it's you wanting to drive an FD, like you made it known, and it ended up happening. Even the crazy shit that I'm into this year, like I made it known, this is what I want to do. And it's crazy what ends up happening when you start telling people this is the thing you want to do. I really like the East versus West Coast. Obviously it's not going to happen this year. I got to think of how I can say this. I believe a large portion of tracks contracts are under negotiation for next year. So there is a higher likelihood that we could see more changes next year when it comes to tracks. So maybe they start looking for more venues with layouts like that where we could get both of them, depending on where the tracks are. That could mean more funding. That could mean a lot of different things. I do very much like that idea of East versus West, and then having some sort of final round in the middle of the country, and that's where everybody meets up, or the top 16 from one side and the top 16 from the other, and they meet up, and then we just go. Like I think that'd be pretty sick, because you could still do seating bracket with that too if you wanted, or you just do the, the first place from East Coast meets the 16th place from West Coast. And then that's how you build out your brackets. And then you alternate from either side.
Right. Well, yeah, I think if we could come up with things like the seating bracket, we could definitely come up with ways to make this work.
You've yet to confirm, but I assume you're not a fan of the seating bracket.
It's so... honestly, I'm probably not as against it as you might think I am.
Okay.
I'm just against...
or should be.
I'm just against certain facets of it. And I know a lot of my gripes with it are things that they are proactively trying to make better. So it's not like things that aren't fixable. But it's... I loved the seating bracket at the beginning of the season for Pro. I loved it at Orlando, especially for Pro. I thought it was some of the most exciting driving I've ever seen in drifting. So I think that really should hold some merit, in my opinion, of the seating bracket, is where I'm coming from. I think from a ProSpec level, it could use some tweaking. And I think as the year went on, it got a little more, I don't want to use the word boring, but I just felt like it
got
just
dry.
Like the aura of it kind of fell off in a way. Now, what I don't like about it is that it's not necessarily merit based. Like I don't like how your results or your trajectory of a round can be dictated by the previous round before that. That to me, especially in the ProSpec side of things, when we only have 4 rounds, is pretty difficult to navigate. It's like if you have a bad round, you can't just make up for it at the next round by qualifying well. You're stuck in this thing. And so I wish it was and I know that's not the easiest thing to figure out, but I do wish it was a little more merit based for that reason.
Okay.
To me, it's like, I don't know. I don't like how it's your previous round decides your next round in a way for that.
Yeah. I think there's some really cool aspects to it. It really adds a lot of pressure to it, but I'm not a driver. Purely from the show standpoint, there are some things that need improvements. Once again, I don't know when this show's coming out, so I have to be careful. This is like the behind the scenes how the sausage is made. This may come out before the rule book is announced, and it may come out after the rule book is announced. But what I can say is a lot of the gripes that people have been addressed. There's some really creative and cool ways to incentivize better driving in seating, and there's more scenarios that make this a better situation, I think is the That's probably the best way I can put it. I can tell you once we're done recording officially, but I either have done or will be doing a full episode with Ryan Sage breaking down all of it. I did get to see how they've fixed that and fixed a few other things with judging, because the judging rulebook is the one that hasn't been finished yet. Technical is out, sporting is out. It's just the judging one. So I read revision 7, if that gives you any idea of how serious they're taking this.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah. That's revision 7 of this, like 2025's rulebook. So that's not like, last year's and anything like that should give you an idea of how much they've been working on this. So, which is good, it always frustrates me. And people are like, they don't even take this serious. I'm like, bro, the people that work at FD, the drivers, the staff, everybody, it's like all that they do is live and breathe this sport. So you can't think that they don't take this seriously.
Yeah, no, I think FD does a pretty good job at showing how serious they take things. I know some people don't think that way, but I don't know. Like you said earlier, and like as you can tell by what you just said with the seating bracket, they take an overwhelming opinion on certain things to heart, and they definitely, they just want to make it the best product. And I think Ryan Sage is one of the smartest, most like affluent and articulate persons I've ever met in my entire life.
Crazy,
he is,
right?
He is like anyone. If you have an issue with Formula Drift, no matter what it is, I don't care how simple or high. Like if you sat down and had a conversation with Ryan Sage, you'd be like, this dude means business. Like this guy is, I think, the best possible person that could be in the seat that he is in for the sport. And he takes everything seriously. I think he does a great job. And he always takes the time to talk to all of us, even as his ProSpec drivers. He's always like, how can I help your program? How can we make a better product to sell to your partners?
Yeah, the hardest thing is like, there isn't enough time. And in a lot of cases, they're not able to fully explain why something is happening. Like St. Louis is a great example. I'm not going to I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I think you were there for a lot of it. Once the explanations more or less came out as to why everything happened, you're like, oh, okay, so you guys are doing what you can with what you have, right? Of
course.
Given the whole situation, this is what you have come to a conclusion on. I once again, I gotta be very careful how I display this, but given the entire situation, I understand now why you guys made the decision. I may not have made the same decision, but I understand why you made it. And a lot of the fans at home don't get to see that. They might get mad about certain rules and stuff like that. And it's like, listen, realistically, you would have to give me a 20-hour show to explain the entire rule book, to truly explain the entire rule book, right? Like if we went rule by rule and explained the situation and why that thing came into place and the potential of how it could go right and how it could go wrong, that it would be like an hour per rule. And then we'd have to just get through the whole thing. Like that's the thing. Once you explain it, once you've sat, especially with Sage, once he's explained it to you, you're like, oh yeah, no, that I have no argument. Like you're right. Like it's crazy. He could be a cult leader. 100%. I think he could. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times when he talks, at times I feel like I need to go get an encyclopedia and learn because I learned 25 new words in something that he's done. I'm like, I don't even know what any of that means, but you sound smart enough, so we're gonna go with what you said.
He's one of the most intelligent human beings I've ever met, and I am very grateful for the amount of time I get to spend with him. And I'm also very regretful that I don't get to spend more time with him. Like that's where I'm at. Some of the best conversation I've ever had with him is leaving the hotel and going to the track. And it'd be him and I, and he'll be like, what do you think of this? And I'll explain something. He's like, okay, have you thought about it this way? And I'm like, no, no, I haven't. And I'm like, now that's going to be in my head all day. And then he'd be like, and then, we'll go to the hotel at the end of the day. And he'd be like, so have you thought about the thing we talked about this morning? I'm like, yeah, I have. And you're right. And there's nothing I can do to argue with you. And I love arguing with people.
It's funny as I always feel the same. Everyone always tells me that I should have been a lawyer or something. Because I like to debate. I will use You know, I like to just like, and like in a good way. Like I just enjoy debating with people, whether it's something I'm not even that, you know, strongly opinionated on or not. I just love the back and forth on things, you know,
just to do it. As long as if you can do it without getting like personal or getting like, you know, butthurt about it, like just having the discussion about it, I will make time for a well thought out, emotionally controlled discussion. The moment somebody starts getting emotional about it and like they get their feelings into it, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't fun. Like I have no interest. But if you want to have a well thought out conversation, I just had one online about something I said in a previous episode. Like, and it was with Sean Illingworth and Travis Reeder and like Jelani and like people I very much respect. And a lot of them didn't agree with what I said. And I'm like, that's fine. I want to hear your thoughts on it. And I'm happy to have a calm discourse about that subject.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It's fun. Some people don't like confrontation. I mean, I'm not saying I like not productive confrontation.
I don't like people mad at me. I don't want someone to be mad at me, but if someone wants to like debate my stance on something, the only way any of us can develop as human beings and have an opinion on something is to be informed about that opinion. And the only way to do that is to discuss your opinion with somebody who doesn't agree with you, because you're going to come out of it one of two ways: either more entrenched with your thought, or now you're actually considering that you may be incorrect. And going into an argument considering you may be incorrect is super powerful, because like, you will actually listen then. If you just go in like, I'm right, I'm 100% right, you're not listening. You're just waiting for your turn to talk. And that's not how you have a discussion with a human being. So,
I feel like I'll go into that sometimes with my wife, where I'm just like, I'm right. I'm not right any other, you know, there's no telling me I'm wrong. And then I sit there and then sit on the couch afterwards and you're like, you idiot, you were totally wrong on that.
You were super wrong on that.
So wrong on that. Now you just made an angry wife, and it's you know.
Yeah. What did I gain from this?
Exactly. Besides firing up a little bit.
I see my issue is that my wife gets super like she looks cute when she's upset. So I'm like, I'll just poke the bear sometimes, because I'm like, I really like the way you look when you're pissed off.
I call my wife Hufflepuffing. I know that's like a weird word, but like she's just like, anyone that's met her, she's like the nicest human being in the world. She like doesn't purr. She's just like a total sweetheart. So like anytime she gets really angry about something, sometimes it's hard to take her seriously. And like everyone, like we'll see it all the time on the lake. Like we do a lot of board sports off a wakeboard boat, and if people get really close to you, it's dangerous. So she takes that very seriously, and like she'll just like fly up to someone's boat and just like scream, like this really like high, and it's just like everyone on our boat's laughing, nevertheless the other boat. And I'm like, no, I was like, I feel bad that it's just hard because she's so sweet, you know, you can't really take her seriously. But I call it like she Hufflepuff. She's like, you know, does this like little Hufflepuffing thing. It's kind of funny. I call my wife's lemon face because it looks like she just ate a lemon. She'll like do like one of these like that, and I'm like, oh, it's so cute though. Like, oh man, that's funny. Well, sir, we've cranked out a solid 2 hours. Crazy how quick it goes, huh? Yeah, that's like the biggest thing I've noticed on podcasts is like, man, you could just fly through time. It's like some space-time continuum.
That's great. I love it. It's pretty wild. And this now is a good combo. I mean, you're one of the many drivers that like we've had a chance to hang out. We've wrenched together in New Jersey, although it was more me talking to you while you were frustrated with the throw-up bearing or something. I can't remember, but
oh my God, that was I remember that. That's where something like Chris is so handy though, because like we wrecked an input shaft on my transmission by having the wrong pilot bearing in my motor.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing with VR38s, you know, they're automatic. And guess what? You know, it's even weirder about them. The transmission's in the back of the car, you know, in the original car it came in. So we have to have very custom stuff to make it work. But fortunately with Chris sharing the same parts, we were able to take his spare transmission, throw it in my car, and go out and finish what we had to do for the day while we went to go get custom pilot bearings made at a machine shop very far away to put in my motor later that night. And we rebuilt my transmission on the tailgate of my truck with parts of Brian Hopp. He's coming into ProSpec this year. If you don't know him now, you will know him by the end of this year. I promise you that. He is a rowdy dude. I love him to death. But anyway, he literally just broke open his toolbox of stuff. We rebuilt my transmission on the tailgate of my truck. And my backup camera is still filled with transmission oil to this day. Gear oil. But yeah, it's I don't remember what we were talking about before that.
I don't know.
But you got me on a tangent. Oh, wrenching on things. Yeah, it's been an awesome conversation. I've only ever talked to you in those settings. That's like I kept saying to you over and over. I was like, one of these days, I'm going to give you a reason for me to be on your podcast because that I kept saying it. That's what I kept saying to you.
The podium
everywhere.
show. Yeah. Dude. No, I very much wanted to, and this was good. I'm looking forward to hanging out again more. I think New Jersey, I might even come in a couple of days earlier. I got a few friends there, so might need some bagel recommendations.
Yes.
So
bagel, pizza, we got all the good stuff. I know last year you tried to make like a hockey thing happen.
It didn't turn out, but I might try again.
Yeah, you should go for it. We got a lot of good rinks and stuff like that. A lot of good hockey players here. I was a goalie when I was a kid growing up. I played ice hockey.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'll bring extra pads. You can strap them back on again if you want.
I'd love to. It'd be a lot of fun. So
that'd be good. Sick, dude. Well, for everybody listening and watching at home, make sure to go check out all of Alex's stuff down below. I'll have all the fun links and all that stuff. Make sure to use your discount code this year. We are tracking those, so it's cool to see how many people have already done it. It's wild. That was one of my like wake up calls. I'm like, shit, people actually listen to this show.
It's cool. That's good for you too. Yeah. It's like, hey, look, I'm worth something.
Good data.
You know what I mean? Good data.
Trying to get those sponsors. Trying to get those sponsors, baby.
That's right. Aren't we all?
Oh, I know. Dude, any closing words? Anybody you want to thank? Any of that fun stuff?
I mean, obviously, I want to thank everyone at Forsberg Racing and Nissan and everyone that we've been doing everything with. It's awesome. And you guys too. You guys give us a platform or a stage to do what we do. And, it's just, I always say I'm living 15-year-old myself's dream. And I'm very thankful because without all of these pieces of this puzzle, we wouldn't be able to do it. So, yeah, this has been really fun. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll have you on the podium show a whole bunch this year, and then it'll be good.
That'd be awesome. Lord willing, I'm trying.
There you go.
We'll make it happen.
Sick. All right. Thanks again. And thanks for everybody listening and watching at home. And we'll catch everyone next week.